Hello everyone and good evening and welcome to this Racing Post Betfair Cheltenham Festival preview stage here at the brewery in London. It was meant to take place on February the 28th. It was abandoned through snow. The panellists have all been here waiting all that time and now their patience has been rewarded. An excellent panel we have for you too, in no particular order. We have a man who was 10 times champion trainer in Britain, still vying for this year's title as well. He's a man who's won the Big Four Cheltenham Festival Championship races. He is Paul Nicholls. Also here, a gentleman with 178 winners already on the board in Ireland this season. Last year he took the Cheltenham Festival by storm, the meeting's top trainer with 6 winners. He has a fantastic team again this season, Gordon Elliott. Now the man who was Gordon's assistant. He has survived and he has flourished as well with 42 winners already in his debut season in Britain, Ollie Murphy. From the Racing Post, one of Britain's top tipsters, successful today in the Imperial Cup with Mr. Antolini at 20-1, Paul Keeley.
I had a fan club, Brent.
Best reception of the night, that was, Kills. And from At the Races, the voice of Irish racing. He's a presenter, a commentator, and a triple threat as well, because he's also a successful owner with Gordon, Gary O'Brien. And from the principal sponsor, Betfair, the head of media relations, Mr. Barry Orr. This is very much an interactive occasion. You can text us or send us your comments and questions via Twitter using the hashtag BetfairRacing or via the Facebook live streams on the Racing Post and Betfair Facebook accounts. Before we crack on with the business, some housekeeping notes from Barry.
Hi folks, good evening everyone. We're going to do 4 enhancements throughout the evening, one each day, one significant enhancement, so you can look forward to them. And also, if you have any specific markets you'd like us to consider pricing of, if you use the hashtag odds on that and include the Betfair at Racing Twitter handle or at Betfair handle, hashtag odds on that, and we can price up any markets that you might think would be of interest throughout the evening. Just to give you a bit of idea on some of those, Brian used to ride a winner at Cheltenham, one of our customers is looking for. That's currently a 9-4 chance. Sam Crow, Footpad, and Napa Shakira, all not to win at the Cheltenham Festival, is 11-4 against her. St. Cavados to win the Arkle by 4 lengths or more is currently a 7-1 chance. So that's just a taste of some of those markets that are already up on the site, odds on that. I'd also just mention we have a special exchange enhancement throughout the 4 days. So on day 1, if you bet £10 on the Champion Hurl on the exchange, you get a free sportsbook horse racing multiple bet the next day. That carries on for the first 3 days of the festival. So that's something to look forward to as well. We'll speak about it again later on in the evening.
Okay, in theory, we'll spend about 30 minutes looking at each of the 4 days and end proceedings with a Q&A session. We'll start off then with the very first race of the meeting, the Royal Race, the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Dominating the market for this one is the Willie Mullins trained Getabird, but another horse would be dominating the market if he was going to run. So Gordon, let's just crack off with the question. Once and for all, Sam Crow goes in the Ballymore.
I was just talking to Ollie, he said the rain that fell last night, never seen rain like it in Cheltenham. I've just texted Eddie and Michael O'Leary, so I'm waiting on a reply, but he's on his way over to Cheltenham, and I'm going to be there in the morning and walk the track before declaration, so there's no decision made at the moment, but if I was a betting man I'd probably say it is going to be the Ballymore, but with the rain that's fallen you just never know.
How soft would it need to be for you to change the plan and go for the Supreme?
Listen, it wouldn't be proper heavy ground.
Yeah.
It'd have to be close to unracable for me to change my mind. He's won a point over 3 miles in soft ground. He jumps and he stays, so we'll see. And
so this is a betting event. As a betting man, what odds would you give then on Ballymore, the Ballymore being Sam Crow's race?
What odds would you give me?
I I reckon you're probably about a 6 on shot at the moment to go for the Ballymore.
You'll have 600 to win one.
Yeah, you're probably just about right, but I've trained plenty of 6 to 1 on shots to get turned over, so you never know.
Okay. We'll still hanging in the air. We'll talk more about Samco later on then. Get a Bird dominates the market then as the red hot favourite. It's a race in which Willie Mullins has the favourite pretty much every season, won 3 of the last 5 renewals, has got in there with the favourite in the last 5 years, or joint favourite. Get a Bird this time. Gary, you'll have been watching him in Ireland all season. How does he compare to the Vautours, the Duvans?
I think actually it's just that last run, Lee, that's kind of thrust him up there. Before that, I must admit, I wasn't overly impressed by the horse, certainly not as a Supreme Novice Hurdle horse. He's obviously got a point-to-point background, and you would have said maybe he looked more like a galloping type of horse before he won the Punchestown race last time. But obviously a lot of Willie Mullins' good horses have won that race down the years. He seemed to show a lot of speed that day. He hurdled very fluently as well. So I was kind of a convert after that race, and I think a lot of people were as well. And the interesting thing as well, Lee, was that he was very well back that day, so there seemed to be a lot of confidence in the horse. So, look, I think he's a worthy favourite. The race has cut up a little bit in recent times. A few of them have fallen by the wayside. I do reckon he's the one to beat, but obviously we're talking about things from a betting point of view. This horse is going to be bigger on the day. I think he's been drifting a bit in recent days, and I think he'll be at least 2 to 1 on the Tuesday morning. So I think if you are fancying having a few quid on him, hold fire for now is what I would say.
Gordon, in that Moscow Flyer, you had Mengli Khan, clearly a hugely talented horse. On that occasion, was well beaten by Get a Bird. What would be his prospects of exacting revenge?
Yeah, to be fair, he was well bet on the day. My horse was given Get a Bird weight on the day with a grade of penalty. For me, I don't think my horse ran his race that day. The third and fourth horse finished too close to him. But I was very impressed with Get a Bird that day, and we're going to have to be on our A game to turn them over. I suppose the more and more these Cheltenham previews I go to and listen to a lot of the judges, Willie's, they're not just lepping up about this horse and saying he's probably plenty short. So I think my horse probably won't be. He's 12 to 1 here, I see, with a few firms. Meglican, I don't think he'll be 12 to 1 on the day. This race is going to go up a lot, and I couldn't put anyone off having a few quid each way on Meglican. He's in great form. He looks a lot better than he did going to Punchestown. And I think he's got a very, very good each way chance.
Keels, you're not a favourite tipster, but in terms of solid favourites, how solid do you think Get a Bird is?
At the price, not particularly, to be honest. I mean, as we said, Gordon said he didn't think his horse ran his race. He didn't run the same race twice for Hugo Palmer on the flat either. He's sometimes capable of very smart form, and then sometimes he ran terribly. So how do we know? And it's all based on one run. Now, he's only had 2 runs over hurdles overall. I think the last winner to have won the race after just 2 runs was Captain Seaby in 2008. It was a long while ago. I was on a panel with Rich Ritchie and Joe Chambers in the week or last week, and they both said, we expect him to win, but he's no Duvan, he's no Vautour. Well, Duvan was 2 to 1, Vautour was 7 to 2, and this horse, if Samco doesn't run, is going to be around 6 to 4. I think you've got to take him on.
Barry, what price should he be?
I think it'd be a 2 to 1 chance on the day. I can't see him going any shorter than that. I think Kalashnikov, if he was in any other yard, would probably be considerably shorter than his 5 to 1. If the forecast is correct, and it looks like it is, well, then he has to come into play. He's a very impressive winner of the Betfair Hurl in Newbury just a couple of weeks ago. I heard Barry Garrity on a panel recently saying he thought he was going to win the race on Blue A Rouge. He thought he could pick him up any time, but Kalashnikov just went away from him. I think he's going to be a very popular horse in the race. I think the money will come from him, and the bookies will be out to get a bird. But obviously, all bets are off if Sam Crow runs.
And guys, there's been a lot of love in preview nights in Britain and Ireland the last few days for Somerville Boy, who beat Kalashnikov in the Tolworth. There's a big price discrepancy this time. Could anyone see Somerville Boy winning the Supreme?
I think he obviously stays the trip very well, and he'll handle the ground. I think if you're looking for an each-way bet, there's probably a better one in Kim Bailey's First Flow, who's been supplemented and absolutely does want bottomless ground and is a real powerful galloper, and won so impressively at Haydock. That would be the one for me, really.
And well back today as well, First Flow. Ollie, what's your take on the Supreme?
I actually just thought Somerville Boy, I didn't think he deserved to be a double-figure price. He's obviously beaten Amy Murphy's horse. I thought he was an each-way bet. I thought the favourite was very short, and I thought Gordon's horse was getting an awful lot closer than he did the last day, so I just can't see Amy Murphy's horse reversing the placings with Somerville Boys, so I thought he was a big price at 10 to 1.
Okay. And Paul, you've got a cracking record yourself in the Supreme. Brahms de Clermont is entered. Will Brahms de Clermont go?
No, he'd just well start now if he did. That's why he's 66 to 1 now. It's too soft for him. He definitely won't run. I think Somerville Boy, I just, as what Ollie said, I agree with him about the Sandown Tolworth Hurdle, grade 1 for me, beat Kalashnikov. But fair and square that down, soft ground, and for me, I can't see why the price discrepancy is, and I think Somerville Boy will go well.
Okay, so plenty of love again here for Somerville Boy. We move on to the Racing Post Arkle Trophy. Amazing how over hurdles, Footpad was very much inferior to Petit Mouchoir. I met him in the Irish Champion Hurdle and the Champion Hurdle. On both occasions was behind. Those roles were reversed in the Irish Arkle at Leopardstown last time, and Petit Mouchoir goes into the Arkle again behind Footpad in the betting. Keels, Footpad, would you expect him again to confirm that Leopardstown form with Petit Mouchoir?
I wouldn't be 100% certain. I think there were 3 very, very good horses in there, and I'd be struggling to pick between any of them. I'd have been well against Footpad if the ground was dry, because I think as a 4 and 5-year-old, he looked like he wasn't fast enough for 2 mile around Cheltenham. He got outpaced in both the Triumph Hurdle and the Champion Hurdle last year. Obviously, you could say this is definitely a lesser race than the Champion Hurdle, and his jumping really does help him because he's an absolutely superb jumper. But he wasn't a superstar over hurdles. I don't just buy it. I don't see him being a superstar chaser for the next few years, and I'm not 100% sure now that I see Petit Mouchoir doing that, especially the way he jumped the first 2. But St Calvados could be. Because I just thought he looked absolutely brilliant at Warwick, and he is going to love the conditions. I'm almost certain that Petit Mouchoir will be ahead of Footpad after 2 fences. There's no way he'll sit behind him. So Footpad's probably going to have to do it from behind this time. But I think St Calvados will be making the running ahead of him anyway. It'll be a real furious gallop. There'll be no prisoners taken. At the prices, I just prefer St Calvados now, but it wouldn't surprise me if any of the 3 won.
Gary, is there a chance that with so much pace in this year's Arkle that the race could be set up for a closer like Brain Power maybe?
I suppose there is a chance, Lee. I think obviously in these circumstances the jockeys have got to use their heads. They know a lot of these horses like to get on with things. Footpad has obviously been prominent in a lot of his races, Petit Mouchoir likewise, and St Calvados is a front runner. The one thing about Footpad, I don't think he really has to lead. He took a lead, happy enough 2 starts back. Even the first day he won over fences, he didn't make all that day. I would imagine Ruby Walsh should be quite happy just to take his time on Footpad. Obviously, fair enough, he wasn't a tip-top hurdler, but what I think you need to remember is he had a second season over hurdles. The likes of Duvan and Vautour went chasing straight away after the novice season over hurdles, so they didn't have to go into open company over hurdles. So who knows, if they had done, they might have well got beaten a few times like this horse has. He jumps very well. That's the key to him over fences. Over hurdles, Petit Mouchoir was just obviously slightly superior, but I think he'll win, to be perfectly honest. Footpad, I'll be disappointed if he doesn't. Petit Mouchoir could well get a bit closer than he did at Leopardstown last time. I respect St Calvados, but I just think Footpad is a bit of star quality about him over fences.
Paul, you've trained an awful lot of high-class hurdlers who've gone chasing. You've also trained horses who've improved an awful lot for going chasing. Are you convinced from what you've seen from Footpad so far that he is a significantly better horse now he's going over fences, or is it potential that he's maybe been flattered so far?
Yeah, I actually trained Petit Mouchoir to win a point-to-point on the Land Rover bumper. Right. So I know quite a bit about him. I think Footpad has been very good this year. His jumping has been class. But for me, I think out from the last day beating Petit Mouchoir, he's beaten nothing all year. He's gone round and egg and spoon races, and he's won very, very impressive and jumped very, very well. But I don't think he's beaten a whole lot, but you couldn't but be impressed with him. The one worry I would have with him is, if you go back and look at reruns of the Champion Hurdle last year, from the turn into the line, he didn't finish the race out. The ground's going to be very soft here, there's going to be a lot of pace, but he's obviously a very good horse. Petit Mouchoir, the last day he ran in Leopardstown, he got a little setback after Punchestown, and he was as big as a bull, so he was in Leopardstown that day. Everyone knew it. The betting suggested that he wasn't that well fancied. He nearly headbutted the first 2 fences, and he still ran your man to 3 or 4 lengths. I think Petit Mouchoir will be an awful lot closer footpath. But I was talking to someone very shrewd the other day, and they would know a good lot what's going on in Willie Mullins, and they said this could possibly be the best horse Willie Mullins has in his yard. So for me, I think footpath at that with Ruby riding him, he's probably going to be very, very hard bet, and I think it's a 2-horse race. I think the 2 Irish horses will be 1-2.
Does anyone see, apart from Keels, St Calvados or Brain Power shaking up the Irish horses?
I think Brain Power there's no chance anyway, and I don't know enough about the other fella.
Brain Power is meant to work great at home, and he's the only horse can live with Altior and all that, but it's a terrible preparation for an Arkle unseating rider and falling, so I don't think he's attracting much support. St Calvados has been the springer in the market in the last 4 or 5 days, was 6-1 into 7-2 now, and that's ground dependent as well, and ground related.
Okay, the Unibet Champion Hurdle. This should be quite straightforward in theory. Bouverdere, sorry.
I'll just say.
Oh, sorry, Barry. Yeah, crack
This
on.
is one of our horses that we've odds boosted on. Bouverdere is 8-15 at the moment, but for the next 15 minutes to a max per customer of £50, we're going even money. So from 8-15 to even money for Bouverdere for the next 15 minutes for a max per customer of €50. All reaching for your phones. Go for it.
Real frisson of excitement goes around the room. Barry, what sort of buzz did that give you just then? That excitement that
Brought
went
a
around
warm
this.
glow to us, but not to the guys, the traders. That wouldn't really brought a warm glow to them for sure. But no, I think it's a pretty decent push, as you can see there. So happy days. All you need
Who
to get
said
to do is
Saturday
win.
night primetime entertainment was dead? It's not. Right, Bouverdere then, even money for the next 15 minutes. Who wants to start on Bouverdere? Keels, Bouverdere, good thing or not?
Yeah, you'd imagine so, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't like the preparation he's had. I don't believe races like the Contenders Hurdle should exist, really. What's the point in jogging around at odds of 1-16 against, bad horses when you can run in grade ones elsewhere? But having said that, there were no good horses and there were no real good hurdlers in England. So, there was a rumour going around the other day that one of Henderson's handicappers nearly got him off the bridle at home. So I don't know whether that means the handicap is a certainty for one of the handicappers or Bouverdere's not working great. But I mean, overall, he's also going to love the soft ground as well. He's not going to have any problems. I think he'll win. I mean, for me, I think Faugheen is almost certain to blow out rather than run really, really well. And I can't have, I mean, I love him, but I can't have my 10 or yours on soft ground. And I think the bet without the favourite is Wicklow Brave.
Yeah.
He's won 4 out of 4 on heavy ground. He goes on anything. He won a county hurdle by 8 lengths on soft ground. I think he's a big player.
Ollie, for some of the romantics, they'd love to see a Faugheen revival. Is there any chance of that happening, do you think, or is it just too romantic a thought?
I suppose the only chance he's got is that he's trained by the man he's trained by. I'd never write a horse off now that Willie Mullins trains, but he's going to have to improve an awful lot on what he's shown us this year. I thought Nicky's horses, he's been faultless all year. He's beaten what's been put in front of him, and he's a worthy odds-on favourite.
What about you, Gordon? You've beaten Faugheen this season, albeit in a race in which he was pulled up. Did you see anything in the race last time, in the Irish Champion, to make you think that there's a glimmer of hope that Faugheen could come back to a level at which he could win a champion hurdle?
No.
Nothing at all?
Not a chance. I think there's only one horse that can beat Bouverdere, and that's Faugheen, if he can back to his best. But I think what he's done this year is nowhere near it. I run a horse in the race that might finish 4th or 5th, Mick Jazz, and he was 3 lengths behind Faugheen, and if he wins a champion hurdle, it'd be an absolute miracle. So it will.
Gordon actually owns half this horse, by the way. He'll tell you what prize money is for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th.
That's why he's running it, and my plan with him is to go for the American Grand National. I think that's worth about 400,000, so that's more interesting to me.
So you're going for the frequently trod champion hurdle American Grand National double?
That's where he's going, yeah. No, listen, I think Bouverdere is a good thing. I think Faugheen is the only horse in the race that could beat me if he can back to his best. And I'd agree with that Wicklow Brave probably could be second on the soft ground. I was going to say my 10 to yours or Wicklow Brave, but with the ground going very soft, it would be a worry for my 10 to yours.
Yeah. Paul, again, are you joining the panel in unanimous support for Bouverdere?
Yeah, he's got to. He's a reigning champion. He's been in good form. The rest of them are out of form or not good enough. The other one I thought might run into a place, the English horses, is Elgin, who seems to be keep improving. He won well at Wincanton the other day, but on all-known form he's got to improve, but just might run into a place. I think Bouverdere be hard to beat.
If you trained him, would you have recommended a 20 grand supplementary?
Look, he won plenty the other day, so it didn't matter. Sometimes you never know, these horses keep on improving, and it might be money well spent. I can't see him winning, but you never know, he might run into the frame.
Okay, and Gary, is there any sort of bet in this race that you can see?
I think the even money
Even money
there would
for
be all
15
right. If you're having a bet without the favourite, Lee, is probably the only way I'd approach it. Bouverdare should win. Wicklow Brave, obviously he's a class act on his day, but he is a tricky horse. Sometimes he doesn't fancy it. He might dig his toes in at the start, so that's something I'd be a little bit wary of. On better ground, which doesn't look likely now, I thought My 10 to Yours might be second again. I couldn't have any faith in Faheen either. I think Mellon might run a bit better than he did at Leopardstown last time. That might get him back into the mix. I'd forgive a horse one bad run always, and they seem to feel that the hood that he wore last time was a bit of a negative. Previous run with My 10 to Yours at Cheltenham wasn't too bad. If he can reproduce that, he's got a place chance. But yeah, it's probably not one of the better betting races of the week, really.
No. Okay, a sweep of support then for Bouverdare. Will there be for the next hot pot on Cheltenham Festival Day 1? Apples Jade, defending champion in the OLBG Mares Hurdle. Gordon, again, similar question to Miss Sam Crow earlier on. Definite for the Mares Hurdle?
Yeah, 100% she goes for this race. Listen, people who tell you should be going for the champion hurdle or stayers hurdle, but I'm a big believer in go for the race you think you can win, and I think this is the best race you can win at the Cheltenham Festival. She's had a great preparation. She did a blow there this morning. She's absolutely bombing, so she is. Last year, she not that she was hard to train. She wasn't easy to keep sound last year. Ollie will tell you the same. She was a bit weak and raw, and went lame a couple of times. Was behind last year, but this year she hasn't missed a beat. She's like a terrier. Lisa O'Neill rides her every day of the week. She's absolutely delighted with her, and a lot more pressure this year going into the race. She's favourite, and it's her race to lose, but I couldn't be happier with her, and I wouldn't swap her. There's a good bit of talk about Willie's mare, Benny. There's something, whatever it's called, the second favourite there.
Benny, did you?
Yeah. She won a chase the last day, but if Apples Jade isn't in song, she's going to take all the beating. She loves a fight. She's a little terrier, and I'm very, very lucky to be training her. If William Mullins was still training her, she'd probably be 1 to 4.
You don't mean that, do you?
I don't know about that.
You don't mean that. You don't mean a word of that.
No, listen, she's a good mare and she's in very, very good form, and I wouldn't swap her. She's a star.
Good man. Gary, tell us about Benny Didier, because she's a horse who I don't think many people had reckoned on being a challenger for this race until relatively recently. As Gordon was saying, her campaign has been over fences. How good is she?
It's difficult to know, Lee. I've been very impressed by what I've seen from her, but obviously it's all been over fences. This is a hurdle race, and it's difficult really to quantify what she achieved in her hurdle runs in France. She was very, very good. She's obviously not been the easiest to train either. Had a long, long time off the track after she won first time out in Ireland. I think she was off for best part of a year, but it looks as though at least Willie's getting a clear run with her now. I must say, though, I think there's a better value alternative to the favourite. I don't think anything will beat Apples Jade, but I think Jer's Girl will run well here at a big price. She was second to Apples Jade in a good Grade 2 race at Navan earlier on in the season. Probably made her work as hard as most horses have made Apples Jade work of late. And, I maybe look without the favourite perhaps rather than backing her each way or to win the race. But I think Jer's Girl, she could have run the handicap off a nice mark as well. She was beaten by Labago Raw last time, but that was over 3 miles. I think she'll turn that around back over the shorter trip here. I'll expect a big run from her.
Okay. Paul, the British Challenge headed by Labago has been a fantastic servant this season to Warren Greytrex. Have they made the right call going for this race in all probability over the stayers?
Yeah, I'd probably say, because I think I'm always a big one keeping the fillies with the fillies, but I think Apples Jade's going to be very hard to beat on all known form. Willie's 2 mares are good. I think Warren's mare's got plenty to do, but she's been very consistent, and she's a good mare, but she'll have to be right on the top of her game.
Okay, and Keels, anything at a big price that you'd recommend?
Not a big price, no. I actually think Labago should be second favourite. I just think she's been really impressive this year, and although the trainer keeps saying she wants better ground, her form says she wants soft ground as well. So, and I think she's got half a chance. You've got to remember, if there's one worry with Apples Jade, that she's twice been turned over after a break at odds of 1 to 2 and 2 to 5. I'm sure she'll have had a lot more drilled into her at home this time, but she's got that record of getting beaten after a break.
The 6th race on day 1 of the festival is the 4 miler. the National Hunt Challenge Cup. Another race in which Gordon Elliott will be going to Cheltenham on day one with serious claims. Gordon, at this stage, what do you expect to be declaring tomorrow on the first day of every race at the festival being 48-hour decks?
Yeah, I'd probably run 3 or 4 horses in this race in the 4 mile chase. I run Jury Duty, Jamie Codd rides him, Lisa O'Neill rides Moss Bank, and Barry O'Neill rides Fagan. Jury Duty, he finished third at Presenting Percy last year in a very, very good race. I couldn't be happy with him. But if I had me pick of what I'd run in this race, I've been begging Mike and Eddie to let me run Donicus and don't want to go for the RSA. Eddie's actually ringing me here now, so maybe he's changed his mind with a soft ground.
Get him on there.
No, I won't. He was at the rugby today, so I'd say he's probably half full. Listen, if I put my hand on my heart and say the horse I'd love to run in this race, it would be Donicus. But Jury Duty, third in the Potemps last year. He's won a grade race. He's been second in a grade 1 this year. He sets the standard. And like for me, when you've got them Irish amateurs riding them, Jamie Codd, like it's worth a half a stone to you. He'll hunt away there and take his time and land there going to the last, and hopefully he'll be good enough.
And Gordon, would you be confident from what you've seen in Jury Duty that the 4 miles won't be beyond him?
I think he'll be okay. He stayed well last year over 3. Yeah, he's got a good chance. Fagan would be a worry with the ground getting very soft. I have to speak to Ronnie Bartlett now in the morning, see whether we run or not. But Moss Bank, Lisa O'Neill rides him. He's slow when he gallops and stays. He's got a good each way chance, and he's twice the price of Jury Duty.
Okay, Ollie, you know Gordon's horses for this race pretty darn well, having spent an awful lot of time with them. Do you agree with Gordon's take that Donicus would have been the one had he been in there?
Yeah, I probably do.
So you both think that, but Eddie O'Leary doesn't.
For what he's left in the race, I think Jury Duty's actually brings some good graded form to the table. I thought if he stayed now, I thought he was probably the best the 3 horses he's running. Gordon, I tell you, it'd actually be a lovely tribute if he did win. A good friend of Gordon's was a part owner of the horse who unfortunately lost his life to cancer at a young age. So I know it's a horse that mean a lot to Gordon if he managed to win. I actually thought another horse in the race of Philip Hobbs is no comment. He's been very, very quiet all year. Philip Hobbs has had a bug in the yard, but I'd say they're only just about to strike gold with his horses, and he's had some good form. He had some good hurdle form as well, and I just thought a double figure price, I thought he could run very well.
And Derek O'Connor rides him as well, which is a massive bonus as well.
Paul, no comment, is an interesting horse in that we've only seen him once over fences, over 2.5 miles in the Scilly Isles, when, although he was well beaten in distance terms, he should have been closer than he was.
Just excuse our panel member. He has to go and ring his
Is this the phone
principal
call?
owner. Yeah.
Do you reckon you can come back with exciting news for us? We await with excitement as Gordon goes off to ring a half-full Eddie O'Leary. Yes, Keels, no comment. 2.5 miles to 4 miles.
I tipped him, backed him last week. I was quite interested. He actually jumped pretty well at Sandown, and for a horse that's obviously a strong stayer, he was second at Aintree last year over 3 mile at Fountains, Windfall second again at Punchestown. I thought he went. They're 2 very good horses, Terrafort and Surname, and I thought he went with them for a long way, and it could be very interesting. The only thing is, he's now halved in price.
Yep.
He's down to 6 to 1. I don't think. I certainly wouldn't want to go any lower for a horse with that little experience in a race like that.
Okay. Gary, again, mass Irish representation here. Looks a fair chance there'll be an Irish winner if Keels hasn't got the winner. Which one will it be?
It's a tricky one, Lee. I would echo what Gordon and Ollie have said. I thought Donicus was tailor-made for it. He had real good grade 1 form last time out at Leopardstown. He's a horse that stays very well. Hopefully Gordon might be able to persuade Eddie while he's out there to reconsider. But I'd love to see Jury Duty win. It's not one I'd be very bullish about, but as Ollie said, it's a great story if he could win. Very, very sad, obviously, what happened to Kieran Collins, who was one of his part owners. They got a great kick out of the horse running well at Cheltenham last year. I doubt I'd have a bet in the race myself, but I'd love to see him win.
Okay. And Paul Barry, any strong views on the National Hunt Chase?
No, I I really don't, to tell you the truth. And like Gary, it's not a race I'd be having a bet in, but I suppose the money's been, at the moment, the money seems to be around no comment. He's been very strong. There has been some money for Live, Love, Laugh at 25 to 1 and 28 to 1 into around the 20 to 1 mark. So that'll be interesting if he takes up that engagement, but I think he's multiple entries at the moment.
Okay. The 2 handicaps on day 1 of the festival. The Ultima Business Solutions Handicap Chase was fiercely competitive. Paul, will you have a runner in this one?
Yeah, Vicente is going to run one of the last 2 Scottish Nationals. He got beat ahead there at Cheltenham in November. We've got to run him somewhere before Ayr, and this fits in nicely. And the testing ground will actually suit him in the fact that big emphasis on stamina, and he always comes good this time of year. He looks good and could be a lively outsider.
But again, presumably his season is geared around going back to Ayr,
Yeah, that would be his number 1 target. He's still in the National, but I suspect we'll go to Ayr with him and try and have a crack at winning the 3rd National with him.
Okay. Gary, have you found a nugget in this one?
I'd be lying if I said Hadley. This is the race almost I find most difficult of the entire week at Cheltenham. There's rarely too many Irish horses in it, so even that is a bit of a struggle from my point of view. I'll wait until maybe the final decks before getting stuck into it, but I couldn't really give you any inspiration.
Hang on a second, he's back.
This is far more important.
Gordon.
He's back just in time to tell us about the plodding shed in the next.
Gordon. He's just fiddling with his... While he gets his headset on, Keels, you're going to tell me you're backing Bywise?
No. I've given up with him. No, Q-Star Civil is a horse I've been backing for the last few weeks. I backed him as soon as he crossed the line at Exeter last time. And then I actually thought, oh shit, he's going to go up tons for that, but he only went up £7. I was delighted with that. He's obviously been 3rd in a Fred Winter, 4th in a Martin Pipe, handles soft ground, by the same side as Rev de Civila. Can jump. I just hope Lizzie Kelly doesn't ride him as wide as she did when she was 4th to Frode on him at the trials meeting. Hopefully the slower pace they'll go at that trip will enable him to be nearer the rail, and I just think he's got an absolutely cracking chance. Okay, and the final handicap on day 1, the final race on day 1, is a Close Brothers Novices Handicap Chase. Gordon, Tycoon Prince, Relayed?
The plotting shed?
The plotting shed, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably I run 2 in this. I run the plotting shed. He's had a wind operation. He's stepping up to the Trippy once. He's in very, very good form, but for me, at 5 or 6 to 1, I think the value has gone out of him. He's got a very good each way chance, but I wouldn't like to back him at that price. I think he's got a good chance. He's loads of experience in big handicap hurdles, and he's rated 150 over hurdles, only 143 over fences. But it's a very trappy race. This, it's only 3 or 4 pounds from top to bottom weight. It'll be one of the most competitive races of the week. Andy Second now is obviously a very good horse. It's been a good few quid for him and a lot of talk for him. He's 7 to 1 there, But I think the worry for me with the Irish horses is they've been hacking around in novice chases all year on soft ground. To get to Cheltenham now, I know it'll be soft ground, but this race will be absolutely flat to the boards. I think the plotting shed's got an outstanding chance, but would I back him at 4 or 5 to 1? No, I wouldn't.
And any news from Eddie?
No, no luck anyway. But to be honest, a lot of people fancy Johnny Second now, and if you like Johnny Second now, Tycoon Prince is twice the price of him, and he was arguably going to maybe beat him in Leopardstown the last day when he fell at the last. So at twice the price, you could maybe have a couple of quid each way on Tycoon Prince. Classy horse, but lacks a bit of experience as well.
Okay. Paul, looking at betting there, you've got Move of the Times in at 7 to 1. The vibes this week have been that he might go against sort of senior rivals on Thursday in the Plate. Is that likely?
Yeah, he runs on Thursday. Definitely runs Thursday, because we think a bit of luck, the ground will be better on Thursday on the new track. A bit more emphasis on stamina, probably suit him better than this. So he doesn't run there. I'm going to run Ivester, who's not actually in the betting, but he won at the Cheltenham Festival, won the Martin Pipe 2 years ago. Just come back from injury, had a run at Newbury the other day. He's a big price, could be a big each way price.
Gary, Any Second now caught a few eyes.
He has as Gordon alluded to there, there's quite a buzz around about the horse back home in the kind of new spirit of détente between the Irish and English handicappers. He's been left on the same mark as he has at home, 145, so that's going to help him obviously The one thing is, and Gordon's hit the nail on the head there, it's worlds away from the type of races he's been running, and this is a rough race. I mean, last year there were any number of hard luck stories. I remember one horse in particular, an Irish horse called Last Goodbye, got absolutely wiped out last year. It's very, very tight around that inside track with a lot of runners in a race like this. So, do I think he's well handicapped? I think he's definitely capable of winning off this mark any second now. With Move with the Times coming out of the race, he probably is going to shorten up. I'd give him a great chance, but I just would be worried about that, lack of match practice in such a competitive race as this one.
And Paul, although officially a handicap, this is effectively a conditions race these days, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll only be £4 or £5 between the lot. I mean, I know they've upped it to 145, but it'll be the same thing. It'll be, 140 will probably just about get you in. I backed Barney Dwan a few weeks ago, but I really didn't want soft ground for him. He was second to Presenting Percy in the Attempts last year, but he can jump very low, and I was hoping that decent ground would help him jump a bit better, and I worry about him now. There were two at bigger prices, just given the state of the ground. Testify, who's 3 from 3 this season, loves bottomless ground, and La Roche, another Nick Williams horse, was in the process of running a really, really good race at Exeter last time, was a length up, giving £10 to Alison Monterg and Verney, and probably would have won that race if he hadn't have crashed through the second last. And at 20 to 1, this is a horse that obviously won on Trials Day in the Triumph Trial a few years ago. Absolutely bolted up by 10 lengths on bottomless ground. The conditions are no problem for him.
Okay, Tuesday naps then, guys. Your best bets for day one of the festival. Working across the table, Gary.
I think I'd have to go for Footpadley. I think he's probably fair enough, Bouverdare should win. He's too short, but I think Footpad's still a backable price.
Paul?
Gustav Sivler in the Ultima.
Ollie?
No comment in the National Hunt Chase.
Gordon?
I'll go with Mossbank each way in the 4-miler.
Cool. Paul?
If you want a nap, it's Bouverdare.
Barry?
Kalashnikov each way in the opener.
Barry, you have some enhancements news.
We certainly have. We're kicking off day 2 now. The Ballymore Sam Crow is 4 to 6 at the moment. We're pushing him out to 5 to 4 against. So from 4 to 6 to 5 to 4 against. Same again, 15 minutes, max of £50 or euros per customer. Sam Crow 4 to 6 out to 5 to 4. And you're about to hear from the trainer.
You could surely do a bit better than 50. Give them 100.
No,
15 minutes here, huh? You surely give them 100.
We'll give them 50 if he gives you 50.
Good man, Barry.
It's 50 then, yeah?
Yeah.
It's 50. Not quite the same threesome as there was for Bouverdare, but I guess it's not quite as big
We're all waiting to see where Mr. Elliott's going to run it.
Okay, Mr. Elliott, he said you're pretty much certain to run the horse, aren't you?
Yeah, listen, it's 99.9% sure this is the race he's going for. I'm very happy the horse is in good form. The last day was the most nervous I ever was running because he was coming back to 2 miles in a grade 1 with, I think, just either 10 or 12 winners in the race. It was a proper race, no hiding place, and what he showed me the last day, he looked very, very good. If he can turn up in the same sort of form, I think whatever beats him will win. But it's his first time travelling over to England, which would be a worry. But he's a big laid back devil, and hopefully he can do the job. That's all he'll tell you. Like last year when we had him, like if you go through his bumper form, it doesn't look awesome, but everything he done, he just done easy. Like today, Lisa rode him in Fairyhouse, like 4 or 5 out. I think we were watching the race together. Ollie, geez, are we in trouble here? Next, she just gave him a squeeze and bang, he's gone. He's got a lot of class, a lot of he's just a good horse.
And Gordon, you mentioned travelling. Is he right? He travelled over today.
Yeah.
And how did that go? Smooth?
Oh, sorry, they're not there yet. They won't get there till I think about 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've said yourself you've maybe got to a point where you want to let the horse do the talking and not overhype him. But you have made clear, haven't you, that you do think this is an exceptional talent.
I think a blind man will see that. But he has to keep improving and keep going the way he's going. He's in very good form, and Shane McCann rides him every day at home. And for me, every hour has got a good judge of riding horse. And Shane, for me, is the best in the business. He's with me since I started, and we call him the judge, and that's what he is.
And is there anything in this field or anything in this Supreme, if you've gone in that direction, that you would be even slightly scared of?
But you have to respect Next Destination. He's a grade 1 winner. He probably doesn't do anything fancy either, but he keeps winning. and you know Willie Mullins training him. You know you have to respect him, but I wouldn't swap my horse. So hopefully everything can go okay.
Ollie, when you left Ireland and moved to England, what were you sorry to say goodbye to, Gordon or Sam Crow?
Tell the truth now.
Actually, I better say Gordon, he's bigger than me.
It's just you
about.
won't be long before you pass me out now. Say he misses my mother's cooking. That's where he misses.
Not by the looks of it.
He's no, listen, he's oh, God. It's getting old, this. But no, he's
In fairness, you have expanded a bit since you're at home now. We all thought you'd lose a bit of weight when you're at home training and getting stressed out, but it's bigger you got, isn't it?
thriving.
Thriving, good man.
No, fine, we'll go back to the horse. I can't believe this horse is 4-6. What he's done and what he's shown everyone, in my eyes, he should be a 2-5, 1-3 shot. He's been flawless from his bumper days to his novice hurdle days. Enjoy him. Watch his horse and enjoy him, because I think I know Gordon doesn't like saying it, but I think he's as good as we've seen in a very long time. He's the most laid-back gentleman you'd ever come across. He doesn't do anything fancy, but as Gordon says earlier on, when you want him, he just comes alive. And no, I think he'll make a race like this into a procession, and I hope he does, and I think it'll be good for racing.
Gordon, is that sort of what you'd like to say, but you probably don't feel like you should?
So listen, you always dream, don't you? When you train horses every day, you go out, you dream. You know, training horses is probably it can be the best job in the world and the worst job in the world, because obviously owners are brilliant people to spend money, and we've the hard job of training them. The agents have the easy job of buying them, because they sell the dream, and then we have to burst the bubble or keep the bubble alive. You know, you have Tom Malone sitting there in the front of the thing, and look at him.
Esteemed agent Tom
yeah.
Malone here.
You know,
Stand up, Tom, and let him see you.
You know, in fairness to Tom, he's not.
That
a
is
bad,
him standing.
He's not a bad fella. That's him standing. He's not a bad fella, but like he definitely plays more bad ones than good ones. What we'd say no more.
Does Tom sort of show the bloodstock agency industry in a good light? Then he's the.
I'd say with Tom Malone.
Not all, just the bad ones.
I'd say all joking aside, what Tom Malone has done. You know, back in Ireland, I'm not sure if people know, we call him Tullamore Tom in Ireland, because you know he 5 or 6 years ago, or 10 years ago, he was driving a Ford Fiesta around the place. Now he's driving a car bigger than spaceships. But if fairness to Tom, he does a great job. He's a world-class bloodstock agent. He's brought it to a different level. He's like what Aidan O'Brien and Willie Mullins have done to train and race horses. Everyone has to keep chasing him now. He's brought it forward, and fair play to him.
If you don't use that in your future advertising, then you.
No, all joking aside, I know we're going off what we're talking about. Tom's a good fella.
Paul, you've seen an awful lot of superstars. You've trained a hell of a lot of superstars. Is Sam Crow a superstar?
Well, he looks at on all known form, and what we saw of him, I thought over Christmas, and I can't see too much to beat him in this. I think the best in the English horses on the blind side is out.
Yeah.
We're in trouble. I think Sam Crow's he'll win.
Yeah, on the blind side's come out today. Nick Henson ruled him out this evening at a Sandown preview night. Gary, again, you've been watching Sam Crow in Ireland all season. Would you echo all the positivity?
I would, Lee. I mean, I thought it was that last run really that kind of copper fastened just how good he is. For that, up until that point, I think the hype had maybe got ahead of what he'd achieved on the track. But he won a Grade 1 that day, over 2 miles, tripped probably a little bit short of his best. Never looked in any danger of defeat. So he's a very, very worthy favourite. Next Destination is a good horse. I've been impressed with him. Last time out, he was a little bit more workmanlike, but I think that was more down to the circumstances of the race. He'll keep him honest. I don't think he'll beat him if I'm being blunt about it. If there's a joker in the pack, there's a horse there, Vision Day Flow, who started off in Ireland with Robert Tyner. He's with Colin Tizard now. He made a very promising start over here. Just unravelled a little bit after that, but the Tizard horses were off the boil at the time. He had a wind operation and won very impressively at Exeter last time. I think he could be placed here at a double-figure price.
I think Tom bought him as well, did he?
One of Tom's, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's
One
one
of
of the others,
Tom's.
Tom, is he?
He's doing well, isn't he?
We'll see how he's going next Friday.
Keels, is there a bet in the race?
Well, we all want to see a superstar, don't we? And we all know that Sam Crow could be. But I just got the impression he didn't need to be as good as he looked to win that race. I think it sort of fell apart a bit behind. I think quite a few horses ran below their form. The 4-year-olds were a good couple of seconds faster, and faster from 2 out to the line as well by a good half a dozen lengths. And I'm not knocking Sam Crow. He won really, really easily.
I actually thought that was a credit to Sam Crow why he did that there, because it looked like if anything they could have bet him for speed.
Yeah, David Jennings said exactly the same, and I can see that. I can definitely see that argument. But good horses get beat at Cheltenham. 4 of the last 7 favourites are 2 to 1 or short got beaten this. Demon got beaten this. We're going into a soft ground festival for the first time since 2013. 2013, there were 3 16-to-1 winners, 1 at 20s, 3 at 25s, 1 at 28s, 1 at 33s, 1 at 50s. So I've had short price bets at the festival, and I've lost every time I have. So I'll back something else. I thought Black Op was really impressive when just getting beat at Sandown on trials day at Cheltenham. Just made a mistake at the last. Travelled through the race like it was much the best horse. And Nicky Henderson thinks the world of Santini. I think Black Op traded at 1 to 25 in running. He'll definitely be in a frame. I still want to see Sam Crow be a superstar, but I've backed Black Op.
The RSA Chase is the second race on day 2. Again, 2 Irish horses heading the market for this one, Presenting Percy and Monolith. But Paul, you very much lead the British Challenge with Black Courton. Take us back to the summer, because it's fair to say at that stage you didn't think in Black Courton you had a potential winner of the RSA.
No, not at all. He was a fairly ordinary hurdler, and I just thought in May get a bit of experience into him before hopefully winning a sort of early season Cheltenham novice chase with a bit of experience. But he's just kept on winning and getting better and better, and ended up winning a Grade 1 at the Quarter Star novice chase at Kempton, and was very impressive in the Reynoldstown the other day. He's in the form of his life, and for whatever reason he just keeps improving. He's tough and he's genuine. He's won at Cheltenham twice, and he's got to improve again, but he's in seriously good order, and I think he'll run really well. You
said yourself that Andy Stewart, one of the owners, probably saw the RSA as a race for him before you did. Have you now come round to thinking that Black Courton really can win this race, or do you see him more as a horse who'll go close and not quite be good enough?
Well, Andy's always an enthusiastic owner, and if you had a winner in August at Newton Abbott over 2 miles, he'd say it'd win the Arkle. He's got a lot of enthusiasm. I have to say, when Black Courton won 3 early on, he kept sending me he'll win the RSA, and I kept saying he's got no idea, Andy's got no chance. And I just kept ribbing him, but the horse has just got getting better, and he's surprised us all. And I probably got beat at Newbury because I didn't have enough belief in him, didn't make enough use of him actually, of his stamina. But he's a smart horse now. He's rated 155, which I think is higher than what Denman was when he went into this race. So that's the sort of level he's got to now. And as I said, he's a handy horse that'll suit him on this track. And he's got a chance, but he has to raise his game again, I think. But he keeps doing it.
And it would be wrong discussing Black Courton not to mention Bryony Frost. She's been one of the stars of this season. Just sum up for the audience, Paul, the progress you think Bryony has made this season.
Well, this time last year she was riding in point to points and won the Fox Hunters on Pasture de Polder. She asked if she could turn conditional in the summer and get paid for riding instead of do it as an amateur and getting nothing. And I said, yeah, why not? And, we'll try and support you. And she's just done incredibly well and gets on with horses like this. It's just a story, but she's very talented. She gave anyone saw this week. She rode a horse called Modus at Wincanton from the front, and she's, she thinks about what she's doing. The horses run for her, and very good young jockey.
Gary, Presenting Percy, Monolith, which of the two?
Well, in an ideal world, Lee, I think I and a lot of other people would have liked to see them go separate directions, because I think they're both good enough to win at the Cheltenham Festival, but
there's no chance they will reroute Monolith to the JLT?
There would be a chance, supposedly, if the ground is very heavy, a bit like Gordon's proviso with Sam Crow. I think this is the race that they're keen to go for, but if it did turn up very heavy, there is still a chance. Maybe he's been left in the JLT. Neck on the block, though, I think Presenting Percy is just slightly the classier horse. I would think Monolith might face a fair bit of competition for the lead, which he didn't really have at Leopardstown last time. You couldn't really knock that performance. It was a very good run after a heavy fall on his previous start. But I just think Presenting Percy might be able to sit on his tail and pick him off late on. The ground will be a negative for Presenting Percy if it is very heavy, but he's got plenty of form and that sort of going if you go back through his form. I think obviously his most impressive win over hurdles was the Pertemps last year when he got good ground, but he's a very versatile horse. I'd be disappointed if in 12 months' time we're not here looking at him as a big player for the Gold Cup. So I've got to be with him here.
Ollie, some people have questioned the preparation presenting Percy has had en route to this as being a bit unorthodox. Would you say on this occasion unorthodox is no bad thing?
I don't know. I think the man training was a very, very clever man. I think he's proved that now over the last few years. He only trains a handful of horses, and he seems to deliver them on the big day, kind of year in, year out for the last 2 or 3 years. So I tend to agree with Gary now. He's got a genius of a man on his back who rides Cheltenham as well as anyone in my eyes. Obviously, the horse has been mapped out for the race. I agree with Gary in the way that Monley won't get it all his own way. But no, I actually thought Imam was a bit of value at 5-2, and I thought he was the horse they all had to beat.
Gordon, you were saying you'd like to run Dunikos in this race, but even if you can't run Dunikos in this race, you're going to be represented.
No, I'd like to run Dunikos in the 4 mile chase. I'd like to run Dunikos in the 4 mile.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying even if Dunikos doesn't run, you have a runner in the race, Shattered Love.
Yeah, no, I think Dunikos definitely runs in this race. He was only probably 2 lengths behind Monolith the last day, over 2 mile 5. He loved the soft ground. He'd appreciate the step up, the 3 miles. If you asked me at the start of the year, could he win an RSA or even be running an RSA, I probably would have said no. But his horse just wants to keep pleasing you. Probably like Paul said about his horse, Black Curtain, you know. Just had started, won the beginner's chase off 33 to 1, so he did his first run this year. So that just shows the improvement he has. He's going off a 10 to 1 shot, 10 or 12 to 1 shot for an RSA, but he stays and he jumps and he'll be coming home strong. But for me, you know, you have to respect Paul's horse off the rate, and he has Black Curtain. He keeps improving, and you know, a horse that wants to win is always something special for me. You know, if they want to do it, it's a big help. Monolith, I think, is a very good horse, but for me, I think Percent Percy is the best novice staying chaser in Ireland by a country mile.
By a country mile?
Yeah. I would be a little bit worried about his preparation, running, having a grueler in Gorham the last day in the Red Mills. But you can't question, like people say, why is Pat Kelly going for that race? He could have went for the 10 up the next day and he would have been an absolute penny kick. He would have been 1 to 5 in it. But he generally doesn't get it very wrong, Pat Kelly. He's a very, very clever man, trains a handful of horses, and 9 times out of 10 he gets it right. I think Percent Percy will win this race, and I go as far as saying, as Gary said, I don't think we'll just be talking about him. I think he'll win the Gold Cup next year.
Really?
Yeah.
Keels, have you been similarly impressed by Presenting Percy?
Yeah, I love Presenting Percy. Actually, I was backing him, nibbling away at massive prices for the Gold Cup, just in case the Gold Cup fell apart and they wanted to supplement him. Obviously, it hasn't happened, but you know, I'm one of the ones that did wonder about that prep. But you know, quite a few people have said to me, well, actually, if you watch it again, he didn't have that hard a race. I think he's probably the most likely winner. I'd love to see Monolith going to JLT, because I think it'd be a shorter price for that than he is for the RSA, and I don't see why they wouldn't, because that race is a hell of a lot weaker. I'm a massive fan of Black Curtain. I think you have to be. Every time a horse comes to him, he goes away again. The only defeat he's had, he's avenged.
Yeah.
And I just love to see him go well. But this race is going to be brutal. Come the day, I'm going to end up backing outsiders, I think. I'm going to end up trying to find something at a much bigger price. Ballyoptic's one of those that's really tough, won the Totem, a bit like Black Lion a couple of years ago for Nigel Twiston Davis. That could be one. An Elegant Escape, another one. Another really strong stayer in the mud.
I trained Elegant's Kate to win a pint to pint, so that very good horse. He actually ran Sam Crow, I think, to 3 or 4 lengths in the pint to pint. So that's a bit of form a lot of people might know about. He's a good horse, the wide destination horse.
So you'd be saying they're running him in the right race, going for the RSA as opposed to the 4 miler with him. You think he's got the ability to class?
Well, I'm happy he's running the RSA than the 4 miler, because I think I have a better chance in the 4 miler than having the RSA. So I'd say they're definitely running him in the right race.
Good man. The highlight on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival, the Betway Queen Mother Champion Chase. Fascinating race. This time last year, we were looking at Duvan as a 2 to 9 favourite. Things did not go well that day. He was injured in the race, hasn't run since. And now Altior is the red-hot odds-on favourite, having been rampant last season, but only seen once this season. Barry, in terms of favourites to take on, how keen will bookmakers be to have a go at Altior?
That all depends on whether Duvan runs.
And do you think Duvan will run?
It's a hard one to call. At the moment, no.
Let's have a sweep across the table. A hands up, who thinks Duvan will be declared for the Queen Mother Champion Chase? Nobody. Nobody thinks Douvan will be declared for the Champion Chase. Okay, so we're talking about a race without Douvan then. Paul.
Take Douvan out of the race, like that's 25% of your book automatically at the moment. So like Altior going to be minimum 4 to 6, 13 to 8 on.
Paul, you took on Altior at Newbury in the Game Spirit Chase with Politolog, who's had a fantastic season and ran a good race at Newbury, but was brushed aside by Altior. Were you surprised how easily Altior beat you that day?
Thanks.
Yeah, I was. I wasn't that surprised he won. He looked very fit in the paddock. I didn't think there was much. He obviously went there in Altior in good shape, and he proved it. He's very smart. He's won 12 from 12. The only thing is different race, different track. Hopefully Special Tiara go good gallop, so we haven't got to make the run in the weekend. Because I think Politolog is very good with a lead in a fast run 2 miles, which he'll get here. He jumps really well. But who knows? It's a different day and anything can happen. But he's in good shape. He worked great this morning. But I think like all of us have got a job to beat Altior if he's there on the top of his game and everything goes right. You could look back at last year's Arkle and think that day probably it wasn't when he won, but it could have at one point been interesting if Charbel hadn't have fallen. But I was so impressed with him at Newbury the other day, and I keep thinking what we can do to beat him, and I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. Just hope different track, different day, and a different race will bring us closer together.
Paul, just in terms of, again, Altior's preparation for the race, sometimes people see a horse like this that's had one run off a long absence and the whole bounce factor thing. With Altior, would that be less of a factor given that he didn't really have a major physical injury? It was more of a breathing problem.
Exactly. It's not like he's coming back from, like you said, a leg injury or something. He'd obviously had a breathing operation. To be honest with you, having only had one run, it's got to be an advantage. He's relatively fresh, whereas Politolog was on the go early. He won the Housekeeping Gold Cup, then the Tingle Creek, and then at Kempton. So one run's an advantage in my book.
Does anyone on the panel have any doubt at all about Altior?
I think as far as, if you like betting odds on, again with Sam Crow, this horse 8 to 11, what's he done wrong? And on paper, what is there to say what's going to beat him? I think 8 to 11 looks very generous to me. Paul's horse, a very, very good horse, but he beat him very easily the last day in Newbury, and who's to say he won't have come on for his run? It was his first run of the year, so I thought 8 to 11 was a big price. And
Gary, obviously, as Barry said at the start there, Douvan is the big question over this race. What's your thinking behind why you think he won't be declared for it?
To be honestly, I was on a panel the other night. David Casey, obviously Willie Mullins' right-hand man, said the horse was in good form, but he probably mentioned the word "if" about 3 or 4 times.
Said that about Vroom Vroom Mag as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and she was retired a couple of days later. The word "if" was mentioned a lot. Apparently he's done a bit of work since then. That was at the beginning of the week. Apparently he's done a bit of work since then. That went okay, but it is one of those. I think the longer and longer it goes without seeing him, I just would have my doubts personally. There seems to be a feeling there that maybe he won't be risked, particularly if the ground is going to be very heavy. It's going to be could be a real slog first time out.
And would Min have any pretensions getting close to Altior?
He could get close to him. I was quite impressed by him last time out at Leopardstown. The race seemed to be run to suit him that day. The previous time he got taken on for the lead, probably wasn't at his best. But Altior beat him very, very comfortably in the Supreme a couple of years ago. Altior looks every bit as good, probably better over fences. Actually, I heard Mick Fitzgerald say the other day, and obviously he's very, very close to the Nicky Henderson camp. He feels Altior is the most talented horse in training. I think he mentioned in Britain or Ireland, which was a fair statement. I wouldn't have any worries whatsoever about him bouncing after the Newbury race. As Paul has said, it was a minor wind issue. And the other thing was he didn't have too hard a race either. I thought he won with a fair bit in hand. To me, he looks a good thing.
Okay, let's whiz quickly through the other 4 races on day 2. The Coral Cup, Paul Gordon, looks like plenty of entries in the race. Who wants to go first? Paul?
Top of the game runs. He's in good form. He was 4th in the Lanzarote in January. Kempton over 2 mile 5, needed the run. Then he won a 100 grand handicap the last time at Sandown, staying on strongly. I've just seen the Racing Post headline today. It's going to be the softest opening day of first 2 days at Cheltenham for 20 years. So that's for top of the game. That's ideal to be testing ground. And he worked great this morning. He's gone up a bit now from winning the other day, but he's in good shape.
Gordon, what about your challenge?
I'd probably run 2 in it. Diamond King, he won the race 2 years ago. He's in very, very good form. He just got beaten by Ultima the last day over hurdles. But the ground would be a worry if it's as soft as it is. If it ends up as heavy as they're going to say, and he might be a doubtful runner. And run a horse called Barra in the race. She was second in the Mayor's Hurdle last year. She's had a wind up. She'd be dropped in and she'd have an each way chance, but it might be one of my stronger races if the ground comes up as heavy as what they're saying.
Okay, and Keel's the winner is?
Hopefully Springtown Lake, trained by Philip Hobbs. Good second to on the blind side at Sandown. I know he was beaten 9 lengths, but the 11-length third was Red River, who since won an Albert Bartlett trial, and would have to give him £6 in the handicap now. I think he's a nicely handicapped horse.
Gordon, switching back to you, the Glenfarclas Class cross-country chase. I thought the best punting strategy of the week, pretty much, was to back Cause of Causes and Tiger Roll in the cross-country chase. I can't see anything but one of those two winning. Is that how you feel or not?
Yeah, it's probably hard to disagree with you. Cause of Causes, he's won the last 3 Cheltenham festivals. He just seems to come alive around Cheltenham. He's a stable star. For me, he won a Labrador Hurdle. He's just an absolute gentleman. He's a great horse. Tiger Roll is in very good form, but the ground, if it's very, very heavy, would be a worry for Tiger Roll. He's won 3 times at Cheltenham, but I'd like to see it a bit better for him. And I actually run 3, possibly 4 horses in the race, and we're all forgetting about Bless the Wings. He's been second in the last 2 Irish Nationals. He's been placed in the last 4 Cheltenham festivals, and he beat, I think, nearly every one of these horses, bar 2 or 3, the last day in the cross-country race. He's got more experience than anyone around the place.
Yeah.
But if you had to ask me what I thought the winner would be, very, very hard to go away from Cause of Causes.
Yeah.
He's just a class horse. He won the race 10 lengths last year, beating Bless the Wing, so hard to see him beating him. The one worry I would have if it just came up absolutely bottomless. I know he won a Labrador Hurdle on heavy ground, but I think the older he kind of appreciates a bit of better ground, but he's absolutely flying at home, and I couldn't be happier with him.
And
Does it not dry out quicker in the cross country?
yeah, well, they don't water. They can't water the cross-country course. So traditionally, that would be a track that would dry quicker.
Yeah, it's normally quicker on the inside than it is on the main track, but I hope it's not too heavy on the cross-country race, because I think if it's not too heavy, I think I'll win the race.
Yeah. And would both those two, Gordon, be on course for entry? In theory, that's the long term.
Yeah, in theory, that's the plan. Jamie Codd rides Cause of Causes. Keith Dunn, who rides Tiger Roll, and Davy Russell rides Bless the Wings.
Paul, if Gordon's got a great chance of winning the cross country, you've certainly got a great chance of winning the Fred Winter race. You've got a fantastic record in. How do you assess your challenge this season?
Well, we're going to run 3. Active Allure, who's favourite here, Malaya, and a horse called Grand Sancy, who's a maiden, but is in the same mould as Colando, who won it a few years ago at 25-1. He's been progressing along nicely. Active Allure worked great this morning. Very, very pleased with him this morning. He won at Newcastle first time up on very soft ground. 136, I think, is about okay. So I think he's got a great chance. Malaya, she was second in the Adonis the other day to Redician, who's obviously, I think, going to go well in the Triumph. She just wouldn't want too much more range. She really appreciated the better ground at Kempton. So if it got very testing and very heavy, she might wait. But if the ground was okay, we'll look at it with her as well. But Active Allure probably is our main one.
Would Active Allure represent one of your very strongest chances of the week?
I mean, I wouldn't say I've got any particularly really strong chances. Got good chances. On the form, yeah, he's got a chance. But it's a handicap, very competitive.
He wasn't that competitive when Sanctuaire won, though.
Well, it's been a good race for us. We've been first or second and run really well. 2 years ago, Diego de Charmel beat Romain de Sanam. Colando won it the year before. It just seemed a race we do well in. And he did work great this morning. I was very, very happy with him. Gordon,
could you be stopping Paul in this one?
I probably run 2 or 3 horses in the race. Machuca probably looks like he's the pick of mine. He's a horse I keep knocking all year. I think he's won 4 races now in a couple of greater races. But for me, I couldn't see him getting up the hill. I don't know if he's got the heart for it.
Right.
He's obviously a very, very good horse, but if he won at a Cheltenham Festival, it'd be a lovely surprise. But I could see him travelling best swinging up to the last, but from the last to the line would be a massive worry for me. I was impressed with Paul's horse, Active Flower, in I think it was Newcastle the first day out. I remember, I think I actually watched the race with Tom, and he told me about the horse before he ran, and I was very impressed with him, and he looks like he's got a good criteria going into the race, and Paul's record in the race is second to none. So for me, I don't think it's as good as a race as it's been for the last couple of years. He could have a very good chance.
See what, Tom's getting more mentions than Sam Crow in this preview.
He's sitting on his own there at the front, and he's lonely, so...
Gary, Keels, difficult races. Any views?
Yeah, I backed Activella. I actually backed him for the triumph after he won first time out as well. I think he's decent. I thought he might be better on better ground, but he does handle soft ground, obviously. But I think Ollie's also got a big chance as well. Oxford Blue.
Sorry, I didn't
really, really tough looking horse with a good attitude. Really fought back well at Market Raising last time. And I think a mark of 128 is okay for him. And you know, he's just one of those horses that he will keep finding a bit more.
Ollie, how long have you been looking at the race for?
Ever since he actually won first time out. He had a couple of mediocre runs after he won first time out. And actually, I thought he was an unlucky loser in a 20-round handicap in his last run. I'm contemplating putting a pair of blinkers on him. He'd handled conditions very, very well. He's definitely not the most classiest horse in the race, but he stays well. He won over 2.25 miles on the flat as a 3-year-old, so the one thing he'll do, he'll turn and he'll certainly come home strong. Recommended
as an each way?
I don't see any reason why he won't run a big race, whether that'll be finishing in the first 7 or 8 or in the first 4, but he's tough and hardy and he's streetwise, so I think that stands you in good stead in a race like this.
And Gary, the Irish challenge in this one is maybe weaker than in some years?
I think that's fair comment, Lee. Yeah, Gordon's horses, obviously, you'd have to respect him. I think if you back Machuca, you'll get a good run for your money. He's a strong travelling horse, but there is just that bit of a worry what he'll find up the hill. One horse I would give a mention to, AP McCoy. I actually heard him talking about him. I just took a closer look at him. Look My Way, who's trained by John Quinn. He was actually beaten by Paul's horse Active Valor earlier on in the season, but there wasn't a great deal in it. And just looking back through his form, he's won on heavy ground at Foss Last, which I think I'm right in saying does tend to be amongst the heavier heavies, if you like, in flat racing over here. Brian Hughes has jocked up on him. John Quinn's a guy I'd always respect. He doesn't send horses down there just for a day out. He won't have too many runners during the week. I'd give him a little squeak at a big price.
And Gary, just staying with you, just dissect for us the Willie Mullins Champion Bumper Challenge.
Yes, it's a little bit weaker than it was. Holographic was taken out of the race the other day. I think Willie himself had said he thought he was the best of his bumper horses earlier on in the season. The favourite is Blackbow. You can't really knock him, Lee. He's had an excellent season. He was very impressive at Leopardstown last time in that new Grade 2 at the Dublin Racing Festival. But obviously a race like this, you're dealing with a lot of unknown quantities. A lot of them have impressed in winning their bumpers. Willie's other ones, they're carefully selected. Won well at Naas last time, though I think Gordon had one in against him that day that didn't run up to scratch for whatever reason. Gordon obviously likes his own horse for this, Felix Deji. He's been well backed in recent days. And I'd give Joseph O'Brien's horse Rhinestone a good chance as well. But picking between them, I wouldn't really favour one over the other, so to speak.
Gordon, Felix Deji has been a bit of a talking horse in the last few days at preview nights. He's been really popular. Do you support the enthusiasm?
Yeah, I wouldn't run a horse in this race lightly. I think he's a very, very good horse. Davy Russell rides him. He's a bit of a keen horse, so he has to settle in the race, and if he settles, I think he's a massive chance. I think Blackbow is a deserving favourite. He's a very, very tough horse. Whoever gets by him will win. I was very impressed with Anthony Honeyball's horse, AC Milan, in Newbury.
He's going to get all the allowances as well.
Newbury the last day, but I think Davy Russell dropped my line in there in front of mid-division, and whoever beats him will win.
And Gordon, just on that point where you said you wouldn't run a horse in this race lightly, what is it about the Champion Bumper that would make you very selective about?
I think you could blow the brains off a horse if you're going, but a horse that's going to be on his head early. But this is a horse with an awful lot of class. And I think Davy Russell will suit him down to the ground. Davy will do his own thing. He'll drop him in a little bit. He won't ride him too handy, I hope. And I think he'll come home very, very strong. He's a classy horse, and he's a horse you're going to read an awful lot about in the future.
Cool. Guys, then best bets on day 2 of the festival. We'll go in the opposite direction this time. Barry.
AC Milan the bumper.
AC Milan and the bumper.
Yeah,
Paul.
I think it's a massive price.
Top of the game each way in the Coral Cup.
Gordon.
I'd go with my own horse in the bumper, Felix Destiny.
Ollie.
A horse I didn't even mention. A horse of Philip Hobbs in the bumper called Crook's Peak. His bumper form is very, very strong, and he hasn't run since winning over course and distance in November.
I think we should be backing Philip Hobbs to be leading trainer because more of the horses have been tipped up tonight than anyone's.
Two.
He'll be delighted to hear that. He'll be ecstatic. Keels.
Yeah, going for a big price, Springtown Lake in the Gold Cup.
Fantastic. And Gary.
I've got to go for Presenting Percy. He's one of my real favourite horses in training. Hopefully he can win again.
Presenting Percy for Gary. Barry, enhancements time.
Yes, day 3, Ryanair Undeso is 11 to 10 out to 7 to 4. Again, same T's and C's apply. 50 quid, max of 15 minutes. You know it's a good offer when Tom Malone's reaching into it.
Tom Maloney straight on his phone.
So was 11 to 10 out to 7 to 4 now for 15 minutes.
Tom, £50 max?
One.
Have whatever he gives you. Undeso 7 to 4. Okay, so the JLT Novices Chase, guys, this wouldn't look a particularly thrilling renewal of the in-between Grade 1 Novice Chase of the festival. Gary, what do you reckon?
Obviously, everything would change, Lee, if Monley were to pitch up here. There's another horse, actually, who, the last I heard, he was on course for the RSA Chase, but he is entered for this, and he's kind of contracted a bit. Willie Mullins' Alboom Photo, who was second to Monley last time out at Leopardstown. He's a good horse. He looked like he would have won the race at Limerick over Christmas that Dunicos ended up winning last time. Maybe with the emphasis on stamina, if the ground is going to be testing like we seem to think it will be, there's a chance that he could run here instead. I would think he sets a pretty good standard if he pitches up here. I do think Gordon's mare will run well as well. Shattered Love, Grade 1 winner. Probably was a little bit underestimated in the betting originally for this race. She was 16-20 to 1 not long ago. Price has come down a little bit, but I think she can get into the shake-up as well. She stays further. That's going to be a plus.
Gordon, pick up the baton.
Yeah, I think it's just we need to see what's going to run in this race. I'd agree with what Gary's saying. If Monaghan runs in the race, he's probably definitely going to start favourite. I'm not sure if Paul runs Modus. He's obviously classy horse over hurdles. He'll tell you about him in a minute. But my mare Shattered Love, she's very, very good mare. She loved the soft ground. She'll be getting £7. She's a classy mare, and she's a Grade 1 winner already. You know, she's in very, very good form.
Paul, you're adding this Modus.
Yeah.
He's been sometimes called a few names. Is that fair or not?
I don't quite see why. He's been, he's a good bumper horse, he's a good novice hurdler. Won the Lanzarote hurdle last year. He ran very well in the Coral Cup with top weight over fences this year. He's won 3 from 4. He won a Grade 2 at Wincanton. Fell on very heavy ground at Exeter one day and he wasn't quite right. And then he won very well at Kempton recently. He's a classy horse. He jumps well, travels well. Just wouldn't want the ground bottomless, but hopefully, I'm hoping on the Thursday, the new track is completely different ground. It'll be fresher ground. Wouldn't have been watered so much in the autumn. I think the ground on Thursday, Friday will be much better than the first 2 days. So that should suit him. He worked great this morning. I think he's got a great chance.
Just on the ground, we should probably mention that Simon Clay's saying today that the expectation is for 9 mils of rain on Wednesday at the festival. Soft, heavy in places. The going description at the moment. The first of the two championship races on the Thursday is the Ryanair Chase. The enhancement horse, Undeso, 7 to 4 at the moment. And Barry, 7 to 4 about Undeso. That's a whopperoonie of a price.
It really is. It seems very generous indeed. It looks like he potentially could go off odds on the day. The race is going to fall apart. Obviously, it's non-runner, no bet. There's horses in there like Duvan and Main Q Card will face him. Cloudy Dreams would have a bit of a chance on soft ground. But outside of that, it looks a race that's really going to cut up badly. And I think it's virtually certain that Undeso is going to go off odds on.
Paul Keeley, I know like me, you're a massive fan of Q Card. And we would be ecstatic to see him win the race. But equally, we're all big fans of Undeso.
Are we?
Are you not a big fan of Undeso? How can anyone not be a fan of Undeso?
I was saying the other day, sometimes as a punter you get on the wrong side of a horse and then you just stay on the wrong side of it for the rest of its life. Well, I've been like that with Undeso. I've tried to get it beat loads of times. I'm not going to give up on it now. If you look back at last year's race, he was 5 lengths clear jumping the last, and he was a length and 3/4 up at the line. Now, I know he had the race won, but he was definitely tying up. And although he loves soft ground, this is right at the end of his stamina range. I can see him getting turned over. If this is really, really testing, I can definitely see him get turned over. Unfortunately, I backed Balco with Flo, who wants it fast ground as well, so which is a little bit annoying. But I would take it on. I would have been quite interested in in the owner's second stream, Batcherson. I thought he's looked very good on a couple of races this season, but apparently he's going for the Gold Cup.
Gary, is this going to be a race in which, at the minute, you look down the list of horses left in the race at the latest forfeit stage, you think, well, that's not running, that's not running, that's not running. Do you think some of those connections, as with Batcherson, might start thinking, this looks a winnable race, let's actually have a go at it?
Looking at it the other day, I thought there might be a maximum of about 10 runners, Lee. I think Batcherson is definitely going to go for the Gold Cup. The owners, I think, might have even had a few quid on him for the Gold Cup at very fancy prices. So I'd be surprised if they took on Undersow with him. You know, I just think the opposition is falling away, isn't it? Waiting Patiently was the one who, if he did pitch up, you would have thought could have really tested Undersow. Sub-Lieutenant wasn't beaten far by him last year. I fancied Sub-Lieutenant for the race last year. He ran very, very well, but we haven't seen too much of him this season. He missed an engagement not too long ago. He could be a big price if he is the same horse 12 months on, but it's difficult to have a lot of faith in him. Undersow has won over this sort of trip in testing ground before. He actually won I think it was the Prix La Barca in Auteuil a couple of years ago, very impressively over the guts of 2 miles 6. So I wouldn't have too many worries. And he seems to be settling better as he gets older as well. I thought he settled really well in the Ascot race when Speredek went on in front. So I don't have too many worries in that score. He looks as good as ever this season. So I think all things being equal, he should win. I'd give Q-Card a great chance of being placed based on his run last time. It was great to see him, back in good form.
Paul, you are going to be taking Undersow on, definitely with Frodon, with Le President as well?
Yeah, I think we might run Le President as well. I think it'll be really interesting because I think you'll find Q-Card and Undersow are going to take each other on. I mean, if that's the way it looked at Ascot, and I mean, it just could be a race where if it is testing ground, he could just set it up for something coming on, from behind. And Frodon will definitely run closer than he did at Ascot the other day.
Just explain what happened there, Paul.
He just ran 2-3 the first mile. Bryony jumped him off sharper than she probably wanted to. He's jumped the first in front and he ran himself into the ground in the first mile and still did well to be upsides jump in the second last. Just got a little tired. We won't be riding like that. He'll be ridden more like the time before he won that handicap on this track by like half the track. He was very impressive. He loves his place. And as I said, with more restraint, we'll just get a lead. You'll see him finish a lot closer to them. And Le President, I think he's a horse who's got a lot of ability. Been a bit unlucky not to win this season. And a smaller field will suit him rather than running in a 20-runner handicap. It could be a lively outsider, but I think it's a race that'll be interesting. Tactically, it'll be interesting. And they could just go a million in this, and it could just set it up for someone to pounce late.
And for your part of the world, could you see Q-Card winning?
Well, he ran very well the other day, but he's 12. And whether perhaps the other day he was really fresh and well, and he ran to the top of his game. But he's a proper horse. He's been incredibly good. He's also been a little bit unlucky at Cheltenham, but if he did win, everyone would be thrilled. And Undersow is very, very smart and obviously the top of his game. But at the end of the day, it's a race and things happen, and it's just be one of those races. They could go very, very quick, and the ground is tested. Let's see what happens. I'm really looking forward to running Frodon and just riding him like we did the time before when he won at Cheltenham. He was really well this morning. He's very fresh, and he does like that course. So he's got it all to do, but you never know.
Yeah, he certainly powered up the hill from the final fence that day when he went at Cheltenham.
It was awesome, yeah.
In January. The Sunbet Stayers Hurdle is fiercely competitive. So many strong contenders in that race. Ollie, give us a dispassionate assessment of the Stayers.
Yeah, very tricky renewal, Lee. I actually think the complete forgotten horse in the race is, you know what I mean, Harry. He went off odds on for the race last year. He hasn't sparkled this year so far, but I think he'll handle conditions well. Noel Feely, I actually did a preview the other day with Noel Feely, and he was very sweet in him as well. He said he feels very well at home. He very much looking forward to riding him. And I just thought at double-figure prices, I thought he had a proper each-way chance. I thought Jed O'Keefe's horse was no fluke what he did in Ascot, and I thought he'd run a big race well, but I just thought Harry Fry's horse is a very big price.
Keels, talk about the Stayers Hurdle.
We just want to rewind what Ollie said, basically. Absolutely right. You got a horse at 10-1 that was odds on last year, beaten by Nichols Canyon. I don't think there's a Nichols Canyon in this race for sure. He's definitely got a big chance. He needs to show more than he has on his last couple of starts for sure.
Yeah.
But if he bounces back, he is just a bit of a silly price. The other one I was half interested in, I'm not sure he wanted the ground bottomless in the wheel test, was Penn Hill, because I kept looking back at last year's Albert Bartlett, and he beat Mona Lee very easily in the end, having got pushed out wide. They'd be the two for me, but given conditions now, you know what I mean, Harry.
Gary, a few people have questioned Super Sunday's stamina for this race, even though he's gone very close in major 3-mile races. Can you sort of see where they're coming from?
Oh, without question. I think there's a real doubt about him, particularly if the ground is going to ride testing. In his younger days, as far as I can remember, and obviously the old grey matter might not be as good as it used to be, but this horse was always thought to be better on good ground. And the combination of 3 miles on testing ground, I think that is going to put a major question mark over him for me. It was a great bit of placing by Jesse to win the Irish champion with him last time. That was, as I say, a gamble that paid off spectacularly, but I would definitely oppose him. I actually have backed a horse in this horse called Holstone, trained by Nigel Twiston-Davis, who I think if the ground got very testing, there would be a little bit of a stamina question about him as well. He just seemed to get outstayed by Agrapart at Cheltenham last time, but I think at 14-1, you'll get a very good run for your money with him. He's a strong traveller. He's got plenty of good form at the track. Ran very well in the Albert Bartlett last year, went third behind Penn Hill, who obviously hasn't had a good preparation for this. He hasn't run all season. I think there's plenty of positives for Holstone. I'd expect him to be right there in the mix turning in. Hopefully, he'll get up the hill a bit better this time.
Holstone at a price then for Gary. And Paul, you've got Old Guard, who seems like he's been around forever, yet he's only 7.
Yeah, he's had a good season. He won at Newbury, won the National Spirit at Fontwell the other day. The only thing I would say, I'd be very worried about the ground. I think 3 miles on testing ground wouldn't be ideal. So we're going to monitor what the weather does. If it was, if it dried up and it's sort of good to soft to worse, he'll run. If not, we'll wait for Aintree for him. So yeah, that is a bit of a worry.
Okay, we'll move on to the handicaps then on day 3. The Pertemps final. Paul, Gordon, both got horses engaged. Will you have runners?
I'm running Connectable. If he gets in, he needs 40. He ran very well at Musselburgh 2 runs ago, was only beaten a length and a quarter, and Harry Cobden got off and said he'd go very well in the final. I ran him at Cheltenham, Chepstow 2 weeks ago, thinking he'd win and go up a couple of pounds to make sure I definitely got on him. Ran an absolutely dreadful race. Never picked the bridle up. But God knows why, but he worked great this morning, and if he ran like he did at Musselburgh, an each way chance, really a big price, but he needs to leave a bad run behind him.
Okay, and what about you, Gordon?
I run 2 horses in the race. A horse called Glenlow. He ticks a lot of the boxes for the race. I think he's going to love the soft ground. But it's a competitive race, and a horse called Delta Work. He'd probably be better on a bit of drier ground, but both of them got good each way chances, and hopefully they're on well.
Ollie, you're represented in the Brand Advisory and Meribel Stable Plate, not Graffin.
Yeah, I'd imagine he'll run well now without troubling the judge. He won a nice handicap up in Musselburgh on New Year's Day. I think the handicap has probably got a hold of him now, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ran well without finishing the 4.
And Gordon, you had loads of interesting choices this week. One of them was with the Storyteller in terms of which race to go for with that horse. It's going to be the Plate then, yeah?
Yeah, he definitely goes for this race. I mean, if you're fancying invitation only and them horses for the JLT, this is only a length or 2 behind them the last day in a Grade 1. He lacks a little bit of experience, is the worry I have with a lot of the Irish novices coming over to England. But I actually thought this horse was one of my best chances going to the Cheltenham Festival last year, and he pulled a muscle a week or 10 days before and didn't get the run. But the Storyteller is a very good horse. Davy Russell rides him, and really looking forward to running him.
But to win, you're going to have to move with the times. So Paul has looked in novice chases like he's got the potential to be at least as good as he was over hurdles, and if he can convert the form he had over hurdles into this race, he would have to have a big chance.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. He's had 3 runs around Cheltenham over fences, all in small fields, which sometimes with a hold-up horse like him, he wants a good gallop, doesn't help because you're all seeing too much and they never go good gallop. The form's worked out well, Coup-Star Saval, and other horses. Didn't jump as well as he might have done in the autumn, but we've done a lot of work with his schooling. Very happy with him. He was a good hurdler last year, and I think sometimes novices are good in handicaps. They're probably unexposed where some of the older horses aren't. And the idea of running him here rather on Tuesday was simply the ground. We're hoping on Thursday the ground on the new course will be better, and also there's a little bit more time for a novice on this track. So hopefully he's in good shape. He worked great this morning, and looking forward to running him.
And Paul, JP does so well with handicappers at the festival. To win a handicap at the festival, you've got to be pretty well handicapped. 142. What's that like for Move of the Times, do you think, 142?
And what he's done, he doesn't deserve to be any higher anyway. I mean, he was about that over hurdles. I think he hopefully he'll be progressive, and in time will be, higher than that. But on what he's done, you could say he's only fairly handicapped.
Okay, and just while we stick to the handicaps, and we'll get Paul and Gary's tips for these in a second as well. Paul, the football in Kim Muir, representation there?
Bracador is going to run. He's been a revelation this year. He came to us in May being a maiden over hurdles and fences, and ended up winning 2 or 3 really good chases and finishing 4th in the Hennessy, which is a really good run. Again, wouldn't want the ground too soft. So I'm hoping Thursday it'll be a little bit better, and 25 to 1, he's definitely a lively outsider. He'll be ridden by Locum Williams, who's a really up-and-coming young amateur.
Gordon, last year in this race, Squatter had so many supporters who had to tear the tickets up in frustration. You must have been as frustrated as everybody else.
Yeah, he looked like he was travelling very well. When he fell, I think it was a 3 or 4 out. Albeit he made a couple of mistakes in the way around. It was only his 4th run over fences. But he was still travelling very well when he came down. I think if he comes back to his Paddy Power run at Christmas, he was 3rd in that behind Annabelle Fly, or his run in Cheltenham last year, he'll take all the beating. It's a competitive race. If you're not in, you can't win. Jamie Codd rides him, and for me, when you've got Jamie, we're another £5 or £7 well in.
Would you fancy the horse as much for this year's race as you did for last year's race?
As long as a bit of string. Look, I wouldn't be running him in the race, and I wouldn't be asking Jamie Codd to ride him if I didn't think he'd a good chance.
Good man. Gary, the handicaps, any views?
Nothing for the plate from Ely, but I think in the other 2 very strong chances for the Irish horses. The Pretemps, I have it between Glenlow and Sorted Out, JP's 2 horses. Glenlow split a couple of very well handicapped horses at Naas earlier on in the season. A horse called Oscar Knight, and another one of Gordon's called Diamond Cauchois, who's gone on to win at graded level since then. He looks well treated to me. Sorted Out came back to form in a big way at Punchestown last time, seemed to appreciate going 3 miles. I think the win will come from one of those 2. The Kim Muir, the 2 Irish horses at the top, if you ask me which I think is the better handicapped, I'd say Squator. I think he's a lot better than we've seen from him so far, but to me, Maldini is probably the more reliable horse, and I would put him down as the better jumper of the 2 as well. He didn't really get the rub of the green in the race last year. One thing you would say is Connections have pulled him out a few times because of the ground. They seem to think he's not at his best on heavy ground these days, but he has got plenty of form in it going back. I think he'll, with a clear run round this time, he'll definitely be in the frame at least, Maldini. I think he's solid enough in the last.
And Keels, the handicaps?
Yeah, I did like who dares wins in the Pretemps, but I'm not sure about him on really soft ground. And I think Glenlow will definitely go very well. He's actually a brother to Alfie Sherrin, who I think went off about 11 to 4 favourite for this a few years ago, and won a chase at the meeting. The plate, I've been all over Mr. Whittaker for quite a while. One on Trials Day beat Theatre Territory, who was 3rd in the old Racing Post chase next time out. I think that's a good solid piece of form. And one complete rag for the Kim Muir, horse called Upswing. I just thought he was quite eye-catching in a veterans race at Doncaster the other day. It was a race that Chief Dan George won a few years ago before winning the Ultima, and he just made a nice move and then dropped away slowly afterwards. But he's quite well handicapped on his old form.
And just before we leave the Thursday action, Gary, the Trullhouse Stud Mares Novices Hurdle, been run twice so far, been won twice so far by Willie Mullins. This year's Willie Mullins bank looks to be even stronger than ever. Lorena, is she as good as the vibes?
There's huge confidence behind this mare Lee. She was very, very impressive at Ferryhouse last time. 1 or 2 of the main opposition didn't run the race that day. There was a horse in it called Cracker Dancer who I thought would actually put it up to Lorena, but she was well beaten when she fell. I think there was something amiss with her, but you couldn't fail to be impressed by the way she won. It was a huge step up from winning a maiden hurdle at Tremor. I think there'll be a bit more to come from her. It looks as though the conditions are going to be right as well. I mean, it's hard to back her at the price she is now, but there is an awful lot of confidence behind her, it seems.
Okay, guys, then your best bets on day 3 of the festival. Gary?
I will go Glenlow in the Pretemps. I think he might just maybe beat Sorted Out.
Keels?
I'm going to say you know what I mean, Harry.
Ollie?
I'm the same. You know what I mean, Harry.
2, you know what I mean, Harry. Gordon?
Under so.
Paul?
Throwed on each way.
Barry?
Album photo in the JLT.
Album photo in the JLT for Barry. Okay, we've saved tons of time then for day 4 of the festival. Timico Cheltenham Gold Cup day. Barry, enhancements.
Yes, the enhancement on the 4th and final day is in the feature event, the Gold Cup. The blue ribbon might bite 130 at the moment, out to 9-2 again for a max of 50. For a max of 50, and we're holding that for the next 15 minutes. So might bite. And which do you think, Lee, as a matter of interest, was more popular?
I think
Sam Crow or Bouvardere?
I think without doubt, the vibe, the frisson in the room, when you said Bouvardere and the price, what was the price again?
There was a gasp, all right. We went evens from...
Evens. I thought the gasp in the room was quite dramatic.
There's 50,000 people watching online at the... 50,000 people are watching online at the moment, and they didn't agree with the room. Sam Crow has actually been more popular than Bouvardere. The enhancement on Sam Crow, yeah.
What would you have taken, do you reckon, Barry, on these enhancements?
I couldn't possibly divulge that, Lee.
But it would be quite a lot of money.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Good man. Okay. Friday starts with the JCB Triumph Hurdle. Since the Fred Winter came in, of course, the JCB Triumph has tended to have smaller and more select fields. Really competitive renewal this year. Nicky Henderson's Apple Shakira has held the winter anti-post position. But Barry, coming under threat from Radisson.
Yes, very much so. The money has all been for Radisson since he won last day again in Kempton, was 6-1. He's into 4-1 now, but Apple Shakira, just getting that £7 mare allowance is crucial. She's got course form. Obviously, Radisson, all his wins have been around Kempton. Far Class wouldn't be without a chance either at 7-1 for Gordon. That's come in for a bit of support. And the other mare in the race, Stormy Ireland, as well, if that runs here. Could be interesting to see the two mares face off against each other in the Triumph Hurdle, but at the moment, it looks certain that Apple Shakira will go off favourite.
Gordon, Far Class last time in the Grade 1 at Leopardstown during the Dublin Racing Festival. Ran a fantastic race, just beaten by Mr. Adjudicator. Plenty of people seem to think that Far Class can reverse the form. I think Mr. Keeley, 2 away from you, is one of them. Give him some encouragement.
Yeah, to be fair, I think there's a good jump between Mr. Adjudicator and Far Class, or looking, running, whatever handles the ground the best in the day. I think my horse won't mind any ground. He's only had 2 runs over hurdles. First one in Leopardstown in the Grade 2 and he was just beaten, and the second one in the Grade 1 he was just beaten in Leopardstown as well. He's going to wear a tongue tie for the first time. I think he loved the track on Friday. Big long run from the second last home. He's in very good form, but I like Apple Shakira. I think she just does what she has to do. You couldn't be but impressed with her. She doesn't do anything fancy, but she keeps winning. And for me, I love that type of horse.
Paul, I remember speaking to you about 3 weeks ago about Far Class, and you were really keen at that stage. Are you just as keen now? Keels?
Oh, sorry.
That's all right, lovey.
Obviously not.
You've got to say Keels, haven't you? If you say Paul, I just...
Sorry. Well, no, but I didn't speak to Paul Nichols 3 weeks ago about Far Class. We didn't have a conversation.
Fair enough. Sorry, I was daydreaming.
That's all right, mate.
I just thought he was a bit unfortunate at Leopardstown with the favourite didn't give him a long enough lead, and he just sort of dropped in a hole and he got left in front. But personally, I think the Irish form's better than the English form. Apple Shakira, I'd have been well against her if it would have been good ground, but obviously she's going to get the soft ground that I think she needs, and I think she's a real strong stayer. But I just prefer that Irish line of form, I really do. And I think Far Class will be the much stronger stayer of the two of him and Mr. Adjudicator if it turns into a test. And I expect him to go very close.
Ollie, do you agree with Keels that maybe the Irish juvenile form is stronger than the British?
I think you'd certainly put yourself up for an argument, but I'm a big Apple Shakira fan. She's not flashy. She'll handle conditions very well. I liked Alan King's horse an awful lot. I know he's won on soft ground, the flat, but he's won around Kempton 3 times, which is a very flat track with completely different conditions now going to Cheltenham, and I just think this could end up being a complete dogfight now. Day 4 of the Cheltenham Festival, and the ground will be very, very soft, and I think everyone's trying to get Apple Shakira beaten. I don't know why, but I think she's very solid.
Gary, Apple Shakira sometimes seems to hit flat spots in her races, which isn't uncommon in Triumph Hurdle winners. How keen would you be on her?
Do you know what? I didn't actually see her last win at Cheltenham live at the time, and I heard a couple of people, read 1 or 2 things saying she was unimpressive, and I must admit, when I got home and watched the replay later on in the evening, I was very surprised by that. To me, Barry Geraghty was toying with the other horse that day. It actually looked to me as though he almost wanted to find out what was under the bonnet. He seemed to let the other horse take a couple of lengths out of Apple Shakira and then just picked him up, no problem whatsoever. She's got a lot of similarities, I think, to last year's winner. Course form counts for plenty. Rhodesian looks a very good horse as well, but funny enough, for a horse that won over 1 mile and 6 on soft ground on the flat, from what I've seen him over hurdles, he seems a real speedball.
Yeah.
I'd just be worried about stamina on that stiff track if the ground is testing. I'd give Gordon's horse a good each way chance. I think the emphasis on stamina on the new course might help him turn it around with Mr. Adjudicator, but I would definitely be with Apple Shakira. I think she's the best of them.
And what do we make of some of Willie's more unexposed horses? Well, they're all unexposed, but the ones we haven't seen quite so much of. I mean, Stormy Island won by a colossal margin last time.
She's the real potential fly in the ointment, but the worry is inexperience. She had a bit of a solo that day. It was a terrible race, but you couldn't possibly knock a horse who won by the margin. I think it was 59 lengths, something like that. She was due to run afterwards. I think the plan was to run her in the grade one that Mr. Adjudicator won, and she missed the race. She had a little bit of a hold-up, so she's not going to be as experienced as some others going there. He has a horse in the race called Seo, who got a very good mention the other night at one of the previews. Wouldn't have the profile maybe of a couple of his stable companions. But this year's Triumph, I think, Lee, there's so many horses going into it unbeaten. I think of the top 7 in the betting, 6 of them have yet to be beaten over hurdles. So something has to give. But I just think Apple Shakira, there are real shades of Apple Shade in her. I think she really does look top class.
The Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle comes up at 2:50 on Friday. Gordon, you've got a few in here. Just in terms of a race for novices, you spoke about how hard the champion Bubba can be on a young horse. Is this also a race 3 miles on what's going to be really likely to be testing ground this year? Is this a similarly arduous test?
Yeah, this is a massive test on horses. You really have to stay and go on soft ground to win this. Well, obviously, if it comes up soft, you have to go on soft ground as well. I thought if Willie ran next destination here, he'd have a massive chance. Obviously, we don't know what race he's going to run. Or the grey horse that was second to Sam Crow. What's he called, Gary?
Duke de Geneva.
Duke de Geneva is a very good horse, but I think if the ground comes up very, very, very soft, like everyone's saying, where it does or doesn't, I don't know. I think Henry de Romhead's horse, Chris's Dream, he might know the strongest race in the world the last thing in Clonmel. It was a grade 2 or 3, but the way he did it, he never came out of second gear for me. We all seen him at the sales, and I think he was a big miss. For me, the horse that was at the sales, the horse that ran the last day, he seems to be a horse that strengthened up the whole time. And I think if the ground comes up soft, he must have a massive chance. And he looks a very nice horse, a big slip up and. I know I was with Eddie earlier, and he looked at the horse and he loved him, and he was going for him, he wasn't going for him, and at the end he went off him, and I'm disappointed not to have him on here.
One that got away.
I can give a bigger slip up now. He was in my yard for 48 hours.
Was he?
After Cheltenham. Tom bought him, didn't you, Tom?
Tom again?
Tom bought him, yeah. And it was one of those times I didn't ever have anyone for him at the minute, and Tom said Henry was quite keen to buy him and kept on wanting to buy him. So I just said, I've got no one at the moment, let Henry have him. So Henry picked him up and he went back over to Ireland. And it's just funny, sometimes you get a horse and you can sell immediately, and other times you don't. It was just one of those things, really. So he ended up going back to Ireland.
Ollie, have you had him as well?
No, but I was just saying, if there's a man doing a swallow dive off the top building in Cheltenham, you don't have to take too many guesses who it'll be.
Well, I didn't have him in my yard, so it won't be me. I'd say it'll be Paul Nichols.
Gordon, will you have runners in the race?
I run a horse called
Dortmund Park?
Dortmund Park, yeah. Sorry, maybe. I thought one of my best chances of the week was a horse called Kraken Smart was running this, and he got a little fracture. So it's only minor. He'll be back for next year. But I run Dortmund Park. He's a good horse. He's had a wind operation since he ran the last day. He travelled best into the grade 1 the last day. Looked like he was going to win, and just choked up. But he's had a wind operation. He's in very good form. Could I see him winning? I'm not sure. I think he's more of a horse for next year. But if he runs a good race, I'd be very happy.
Okay.
I think if it comes up soft, I think Henry's horse.
Do you have to declare the wind operations?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have to declare them now. Yeah.
Don't forget.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how did it find out if you don't declare it?
Well, it's not. It's not really a case of how they find out. It's more a test of your honesty and the fact that you want to represent the good name of racing by declaring.
Anyone that knows me knows I'm a very honest person.
Well, goes without saying.
Yes,
I'm after declaring three horses tonight that have wind operations, and they'll all be declared.
Good man. Well done. Does your credit, sir.
Because you don't have to declare them in Ireland, obviously. But
No, we don't. This is the first time we'll have to do it tomorrow morning for Tuesday in Cheltenham. But listen, I think it's good for punters. Everything's out in the open. If you're honest and you're straight and you've nothing to hide, who cares?
Exactly.
Gordon, Paul's made the point before, being very honest, to say that plenty of his horses do have wind ups in a normal year. In a yard as big as yours, what percentage of your string would you say would undergo some form of wind operation during a season?
I'd say more and more every year. I can't understand whether it's the way they're being bred or what we're feeding or what way they're fertilising the land or what it is. It's. I don't know. Maybe Paul will tell you what it was like. I'm only training 10 years. Paul is training a lot longer than me. But for me, since I started training to now, it's more and more horses seem to get wind operations. I don't know for what reason, whether it's what's in the feed, what way the hay has been done. What way?
Might be the way we train them.
Maybe,
harder on them
maybe so. But for me, I think every year we're doing more and more. And it's not a big worry now if a horse gets a wind operation. If he gets 2 or 3, it's obviously a worry. But I think every second horse. For me, I think it wouldn't bother me. We probably should be doing them all.
And Team Sky, British Cycling Team, have shown that breathing problems need not be a barrier to success in top-level sport. Gary, Keels, Albert Bartlett, any tips?
For me, Lee, Chris's Dream is one of the most fascinating runners of the whole meeting. I was at Clonmel working that day. The ground was absolutely diabolical. It was probably the worst ground near enough there's been in Ireland this season, and there's a few to choose from in that score. I was just so impressed by the horse. He did maybe pinch a few lengths early on. If he'd won by 10 lengths or something, maybe you'd think there could have been an element of fluke about it, but he won by 64 lengths. The others literally struggled to get over the line. This horse looked like he could have gone round again. I actually, and it might sound a bit ridiculous, it half reminded me of Carville's Hill winning the Welsh National all those years ago. He just pulverised them from an early stage in the race. If he's as good as he looked that day, and that's just the worry I have, you'd love to see him maybe have backed it up before he goes to Cheltenham, but if he's as good as he looked that day, I think he will win.
Okay, and Keels?
This is a horse that routinely finds out horses that haven't had that many runs. I mean, any lightly raced horse, they're all backward chasers with a future ahead of them. And, last year Penhill was having his 27th racecourse start. You know what I mean, Harry was having his 17th. So I'm just going for something that's had a load of runs. And I've got Nigel Twiston Davis, Calip Mad. He's sort of 50-50 to go here or to Pertemps, but he's had 15 starts. He actually ran in a National Hunt Chase last year. If you go back and watch the video of him, he's still going really well, going to the 3rd last, and he's a month short of his 5th birthday then. He's just a real tough horse, and I'm sure he'll be there going to the last. Okay, let's give a decent chunk of time then to the Blue Ribbon, the biggest race of all, the Timico Cheltenham Gold Cup. We had the 6-day forfeits today, 19 horses left in the race. One added into the race, actually, American. Harry Fry supplemented him. Nigel Twiston Davis said this morning they were thinking about supplementing Bristol de Mai. They then didn't supplement Bristol de Mai. So we've got 19 possible runners. Headed by Might Bite, the enhancement horse, 9-2 from 100 to 30. Barry, is that gone by now? The 15 minutes elapsed?
No, I don't think it's elapsed yet. It's still 9-2 on the side. 5-1 Native River. Our Duke, plenty of money for him in the last 48 hours at 7. Road Respect, very strong at 9. Outside of that, definitely Red, 14 from 16 to 1 in the last 24 hours.
Okay. Might Bite is the horse that heads the market, and he's the one that will have by far the most things said about him in the build-up to the race. There seems to be consensus that he is probably the most talented horse in the race, but Paul Nicholls, twice he's gone to Cheltenham and almost thrown away victory, most notably in the RSA Chase last season. Despite how good he is, how much of a concern would it be for you that Might Bite could throw away the Cheltenham Gold Cup?
It was obviously a worry. but he's been good ever since then. And at Cheltenham, unlike a lot of courses, if you think Chepstow and Newbury, they jump the last and they run straight on down by where they've gone before. At Cheltenham, actually, they've gone out into the country, gone in whatever ways. And at the festival, you jump the last, and they're running to a funnel with crowd either side cheering and roaring and whatever. For a horse, I can remember riding, you jump the last and you think, oh my God. And some of them have a bit of stage fright. And actually, a few years ago, not that many, Silvernacker, Conti and Bobsworth jumped the last in front in the Gold Cup and basically did the same and went off the way, wanted to go off the way they out into another circuit. And it's quite a big thing for the horse to run up that hill there. And he obviously just looks at things like that. And yeah, it's a little bit of a worry, but I don't think he's ungenuine like that. I think he's a good horse. He keeps winning. Very talented horse. I suppose the thing you'd be worried about now is if the ground was very testing and 3.25 miles around Cheltenham, he does look a bit of a speed horse. So it makes it interesting.
And you've been a top jockey. Is there anything that Nico de Boinville can
you talking to Gordon?
No, but well, both of you. Both of you. I'm spoiled for choice. You've both been top jockeys. Nico de Boy, is there anything he can do when he jumps that final fence, approaches a final fence, or even before then, to try and reduce the chance of Mike Bite doing something silly?
I suppose not be in front too soon, and he'll be aware of it, what might happen. And in a race like this, it's very competitive. And I think last year there was only him and was it Whisper in contention. I'll be surprised if there's just 1 or 2 in contention going to the last here.
And Paul is
get a bit of cover, so I think it'll be a bit easier for him. But yeah, it's a worry. But I think too much is made of it. He's a very good horse, and I think he's the best horse in the race if it all goes right.
Do you see him then as very much the one to beat?
Yeah, him, and the other one I like in the race is Native River. He was very good at Newbury the other day. He's won Hennessy, a Welsh National. It might be a blessing in disguise that he's only had 1 run this season because he's relatively fresh. He'll get the trip, and if it's soft ground, I think Native River could just be the one they all got to beat.
Paul Keeley, is there any sense that Native River, because he's sort of gone through the Hennessy, Welsh National route, and he maybe looks like a bit of a grinder, that we can be a little bit snobbish about him and think, well, he's not a Gold Cup winner, when in reality, particularly on soft ground, he very well might be?
Yeah, there could be. I mean, there was a lot of snobbery around Synchronised a few years ago, wasn't there? Because he was a Welsh National winner, but he actually went out and won a Grade 1 over 3 miles on decent ground at Leopardstown, and most people still ignored him. You can look at it like that, but then he's going to get his conditions this year as well, isn't he? And he goes in the race fresh. He was actually pretty impressive at Newbury, I thought. I think Mike Bite will end up drifting if it's really soft ground, and Native River will be favourite.
What price do you think he will be on Friday?
Mike Bite?
Yeah.
It'll be bigger than the 9-2 if it's really soft ground that Barry's going now.
So Barry, do you think maybe that 9-2 could just be a little bit greater? If he's 5-1, 11-2 on Friday, it seems churlish now to be offering 9-2.
He's actually 130 now. 15 minutes is gone.
Good man. Gordon, like Paul, we'll go back to you in a second with Safi Dura. You will be represented with Outlander and Malabeach, both go?
Both of them are confirmed. Listen, if I had my way, I'd leave both of them at home. There's racing down right from Malabeach, and I'd go for the Irish National with Outlander and claim 7 off them. But both of them are confirmed. I think it'll be one of the biggest fields in the Gold Cup for a long time, I think because it's such an open race, everyone's going to take their chance at this stage nearly. And Mike Bite obviously looks a very, very good horse. I would agree with Paul says could look very, very testing, could test his stamina. Native River, I don't think he bet much the last day. I'd worry that he only had 1 run in the last year. You can say this is the plan and that's the plan. Colin Tizard, he loves running his horses, and for me, I'd be a little bit worried about that. I think our Duke, if he jumps around, he's got a very, very good chance. Road to Respect, I'd worry about the real testing ground with him.
Yeah.
His stamina. Totally recall, I'm not sure if he's good enough. Definitely Red. Tony Mackay's tipped him up at a good few.
Is he?
At a good few Cheltenham previews this year. How good of a judge he is or not, I'm not sure. But
you just drop in these little lines now and again. It's beautiful.
He was some jockey, but I don't know what he's like. I don't know what he's like as a tipster. But to be honest, I think Ultima for me.
It's what, sorry?
Ultima for me could be one around Cheltenham before. His jumping is very, very sketchy.
Yeah.
I think if Ruby Walsh rides this horse, he'll go off. He mightn't be favourite, but he'll go off very, very close to favourite on the day. I wouldn't touch him if Ruby doesn't ride him. If Ruby rides him soft ground, he'll drop him in hunt away, and you won't even see the horse probably till going to the second last. I think if Ruby rides him, he's got a massive chance to Clota Vic. For me, a 10-1, I think he's the each way bet for me. But I'd like to know if Ruby's riding him.
And
That's
you think Ruby would make that big a difference to the horse?
Well, what would you think?
I'd agree with you. I think if Ruby buries him out the back and creeps...
I'd say wherever he rides him.
Ruby doesn't bury Ruby.
Well, yeah, if he doesn't bury Ruby, because obviously there's a dodge to him, to his jumping, but listen, Ruby's probably the best jockey, you know, any of us in the last decade we've seen. I think Cheltenham Vic, for me, if Ruby rides him, it's a massive each way chance. And the other horse, our Duke, the two Irish horses, I think I'd go with.
Gary, to a certain extent, both Cheltenham Vic and our Duke have got jumping questions to answer. Cheltenham Vic, even before he fell at Leopardstown, jumped pretty worryingly.
Yeah.
And our Duke fell in that race and then 4 out at Gowran, walked through that fence. Are they both serious concerns?
I think that's fair comment, Lee. I think of the two horses, Cheltenham Vic's the more talented, I would have said. He's by Old Vic, who is one of my favourite sires. There aren't too many of them left around now. But the jumping is a major worry with him. He's only run 3 times over fences. He's obviously fallen in one of them. And even before he fell, you rightly say, he made a lot of alarming mistakes at Leopardstown. That's what puts me off him. I just have grave concerns about him jumping around there. Our Duke, do you know what, I'm not as concerned. I think he's getting there. It was only his 7th run over fences at Gowran Park last time. It was over 2.5 miles against a horse who I'm certainly hoping is going to win the RSA Chase in presenting Percy. I'd forgive him for that. And I think in a Gold Cup, you know, he might just maybe be a little bit sharper. Robbie Power's got back on him now. I think that Sizing John actually coming out could be a blessing in disguise for Robbie. I think this horse would have had the better chance in any case.
Really?
He obviously had to go with Sizing John. You can't get off a Gold Cup winner, and I think he's obviously got an agreement with the owners as well. But our Duke, to me, has got ticks in a lot of the right boxes. He'll stay. He jumped very well over the longer trip in the Irish National last year. As I say, talent-wise, he maybe wouldn't quite be at the level of Cheltenham Vic, but I think he's getting there. He's the more solid option. Might bite a hugely talented horse as well. I would personally, though, have a little worry about him if the ground does get very testing. The other one I think could run well at a big price is Total Recall. He still has a lot to find. He won what used to be the Hennessy Delabrook Trophy earlier on in the season, bolted up over hurdles last time as well. He just strikes me as a horse that's going in a serious upward curve. He's still got to go a bit further. He's obviously well fancied for the Grand National as well, but I think he could be placed at a big price, but I'm sticking with our Duke.
And which one do you think Ruby will pick?
I think he will ride Cheltenham Vic because I'm only looking at it from the outside in, but I don't think Total Recall will be good enough to win the race. I think he's good enough to be placed, but I think Cheltenham Vic is good enough, definitely good enough to win the race, but it's the jumping that's the issue. And I think what Gordon said there, if Ruby does ride him, obviously no better man to nurse one around who can be a little bit shoddy in that department.
Yeah, absolutely. Ollie, give us your take on the Gold
Do you
Cup.
think, Gary, the slower ground could actually suit Howard Duke with his jumping as well, could it?
Yeah, I was just looking at his record there. He's never actually won on heavy ground, but he's won plenty of times on soft ground. And Robbie Power, his feeling is he just seems to lose concentration the odd time at a fence. But I think on the big day, the Gold Cup, if he'd gone for the RSA last year, he would have probably been disputing favouritism. He was probably our top staying novice chaser last season, but he stayed at home for the Irish National and it paid off spectacularly. I think he's got an awful lot going for him, and I think on the big day he could just put in his best performance.
Ollie, give us your view on the Gold Cup.
I think the favourite's the best horse in the race by a country mile. Whether that means he wins the race or not, I don't know. I agree with the lads. I don't think he'll want it to turn into a war of attrition. So if it does, I'd be thinking he could be vulnerable. I was told a very interesting stat a couple of nights ago on one of these things. Horses which have run the Gold Cup and got beat and come back and run the Gold Cup the next year, and 0 from 66. So that would worry me now if I was back in Nater River.
Who told you that? Because you definitely didn't look it up.
That's all.
I'm actually a big Total Recall fan. He won a Hennessy, the same as Denman. He came back and won over hurdles the last day when I've never seen a horse so free through a race, and he still won, albeit was off a very handy mark in Leopardstown. Again, if Ruby rides Cheltenham Vic, Paul Town will ride this lad, and I just thought...
I think he's no chance. if you look at he beat a horse of mine, Flawless Escape, 4 or 5 lengths in a handicap hurdle the last day. Now, albeit he was very keen the whole way. If he was going to win a Gold Cup, he'd want to be winning that handicap hurdle in Leopardstown at Furlongs, I would.
Oh, that's overheard. Let's back over fence. He's won a Hennessy.
I don't think any horse could have won any further, probably the way. I was amazed he was able to win it all the last day, the way he pulled, to be honest. What do you think, Al?
I agree. This horse has won a Hennessy. You can't take that away from him. I know he only beat Whisper, and Whisper would be lapsed in a Gold Cup, but I just think he's going the right way. I think he's still unexposed. He's had 3 runs for Willie Mullins, and I just thought a double-figure price. I think this could be a complete bloodbath, this race. I think it'll turn into a war of attrition.
I fear, Roddy, your comment there about Whisper means you may not train for Di Walters for quite some time.
Well,
You might not want to train for Di Walters.
Listen, he's a grand horse, but I don't think he'll be cited in a Gold Cup. But
Paul, Safi de Reur, any chance of sneaking a place?
yeah.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I just looked it up. He was 5th last year, beat 6.5 lengths, only 3 lengths behind Native River. He ran okay at Newbury the other day. He was beat a long way, but to be fair, he was half fit, which I warned everybody. He never came in. For example, he came in on the 1st of October and started work, and I think Colin had said that Native River had started work on the 1st of August and had 3 racecourse gallops. I just about managed to get one into Sapphire before he ran in here. So he travelled extremely well to the 3rd last and then just got tired. Since then, he's been and had a gallop at Kempton. He's done a lot of work. He's a lot lighter, a lot fitter. So I'm optimistic that he'll run better than he did at Newbury. He was 5th last year, as I said, beat 6 lengths. So if he ran to that, who knows, he could run into a place. But he definitely runs, and just as I said, I hope he's improved. Very open race. I said what I fancy earlier on. But I'm looking forward to running Sapphire and hope he runs as well as he did last year.
Okay, so your Gold Cup winners are Gary,
Our Duke.
Keels,
Well, I back Road to Respect, but he's got the same stamina issues, I think, as Mike Bite. I'd go our Duke as well now.
okay, Ollie,
Well, Total Recall is a big price each way.
Gordon,
If Ruby rides, Kulutavic, and if not, our Duke.
good man. Paul,
I don't know, if someone said it put 100 quid on one, I honestly wouldn't know what to do. I think there's probably a lot of us. I don't know. I think if the ground's not too bad, Mike Bite would probably be hard to beat. It just is dependent on the ground. And you're going to wait and see what it does Wednesday, Thursday.
and Barry.
Definitely red each way for me. If anyone else had it, he'd be a single-figure price.
Definitely read each way for Barry. Okay, well,
would you not think Brian Edison's a good trainer, no?
I think he is, but I think the market underestimates him.
Yeah, I think Brian Edison is as shrewd as a trainer
Well
in the
able to
country.
train, yeah.
I wouldn't worry about Brian Edison training him at all, to be honest.
No.
I'm saying he's underestimated by the market.
Yeah.
People
Sorry,
look at that and say, oh, Brian Ellis,
Yeah.
but he's well able
Yeah,
to
no, I
train.
think
Very open race.
he's a top-class trainer.
It's the same about Kalashnikov the first day. I heard Jack Quinlan saying, if I didn't ride him and Amy Murphy didn't train him,
Yeah.
and if my auntie had Bull, she'd be my uncle. It's the same.
Unfortunately, Ollie, that's the way life is, though.
It is, yeah.
Philosophy in the room as we approach the Fox Hunters. Paul Nichols, you won the Fox Hunter last year. Pasha de Paul Dare.
Yeah.
You're going to have a mass band of challenges for the race this year. Which one of yours wins the Fox Hunter?
This is your best chance of the week, Paul.
I've always thought Wonderful Charm would go well, but he wouldn't want it too soft. That's the thing.
I think this is the nap of the week. Paul Nichols said in the race the most
What,
last
Wonderful
week that
Charm?
this is his best chance of the week.
Did he
And
really?
For me, Paul Nichols, 10 times champion trainer.
10 times.
He's
He's won all 4 Cheltenham Festival
a
champions.
genius, obviously. He said this is his best chance of the week. I'd lump on this horse if I was sitting here.
He probably should have won last year. Got beat ahead by Pasha de Polder. The only thing is, he does struggle with his breeding and needs the ground to be decent. And if it's goodish ground, he'll take all the beating. If it's soft, he'll struggle.
And if it's soft, which one of yours then?
Virac.
Okay.
Who rides
The-
him, Paul?
Wonderful Charm, Sam Whaley Cohen, and Virac has ridden by Logan Williams,
Oh, good.
who's just won twice on him at Haydock and I don't know where else, Eagle Ludlow.
Is that the Welsh young man from Wales?
Very good claimer.
He used to be at Berlin Llewellyn, was he? Yeah.
No, he's always been with me since he left school.
No, when he was a young lad, he was at Berlin
No.
Llewellyn. He used to be going around with him. No, it's not. It's him.
Did he? Okay, might have been, okay. But he's a good lad and he can ride well.
And he's Welsh.
Sorry, I've got to interrupt for a second. We've got to get on to the county hurdle.
Yeah, correct.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's all right. County hurdle. Paul, again, loads of entries.
I don't think I'll let anything get in, really, to be honest with you, on the ground. Divan Bear will get in, but he wants fast ground, so we're in trouble.
Gordon.
Leave it there.
Any of yours, Gordon?
I'd run 5 in the race, to be honest.
Can I borrow one?
Well, I think your agent bought about 3 of them for me, so you probably should give him a bollock.
Tom.
Yeah. No, listen, I run 4 or 5 in the race. The horse I had in mind all year for the race was a horse called Duke of the Tie, and he just ran a bit below par in the race the last day. He'll have to do a bit of work on Monday morning, and I'll make my mind up whether he definitely takes a chance or not. But if he was in song and you forget about his last run, I think he's got a massive each way chance. But the ground is going to be the whole thing here. What's going to happen, it'll be a massive factor in the race.
Keels, I remember this race last year. I backed Ivanovic Gorbatov, and it didn't quite work out. Should I be going in again this year?
Well, I backed him, but the ground has gone against him, hasn't it? He's a proper good ground horse, I think, and every time he's run on soft ground, he hasn't turned up. So I would have to be against him now. The one I'm interested in, if it gets in down the bottom, is Deal D'Estraval. I think it's got a mark of 136. In the Boyle Sports Hurdle at Leopardstown, he managed to run into a horse trained by Charles Burns called Off You Go, that he'd managed to get an original handicap mark of 107 when he was probably nearer 157. He bolted up then, and then he won that race pretty well. But it wasn't beating that far, Deal D'Estraval, and I think he'll like a big field again and a strong pace.
And guys, does anyone see Max Dynamite, Melbourne Cup third in a county hurdle?
Yeah, he runs in the Coral Cup, doesn't he?
I think he does at a couple.
Coral Cup.
I think a couple of the previews they were tipping him up, Barry or Gary, were they?
I think so, yeah. Bar maybe soft ground might point them in this direction instead, but I think the Coral was the plan.
Okay. In the Martin Pipe, Gordon, obviously a race that you'd be fond of, given MCP was your mentor. And again, you've got tons here.
I probably shouldn't say sitting beside Paul Nichols that he's my hero, but I'm not saying it anyway. Paul's not even smiling, so he's not.
That's all.
Yeah, it was. I rode winners for him.
The waters are all smooth there now, aren't they? It's all love and harmony. You're a stirrer, you are.
Yeah, he is.
Listen, it's
Gordon,
all a bit of fun, isn't it?
You've got tons here. You've got tons in here that look unexposed. Which one is the most unexposed?
Will you tell me what you?
Well, I've backed Cider Burley.
Sorry?
I've backed Cider Burley.
Yeah, he looks a nice horse. He ran very well in Fairy House the last day. He came home strong. He's in good form, yeah.
Is he the best of yours, do you think?
The ground. Listen, it's hard for me to put my head in the block here to see what way the ground is, but he's definitely a nice horse. And he's got a chance.
Okay. Paul, what were you running this?
Martin Pipe.
Yeah.
A horse called Brilliant Das, probably the only one that get in, I think. He's been chasing all winter, and he's in. I think I've declared him for most of the chases, but he won't get any of those. So this is probably the only race he'll get in. Probably be the only runner.
And Ollie, you need a bit of a miracle, don't you, for whiskey in the jar to get into this one?
Yeah, no, he won't get in, unfortunately. I'd say I'll be watching a 0 to 100 in Fakenham around the time they'll be jumping off mid-race. I'll have no run on race. He won't get in.
And guys, we finish off with the Grand Annual. Again, Paul, a race you've had plenty of success in the past. A lot of people in preview nights have been tipping up Diego de Charmille, but the gossip on the preview night circuit is that Dollis is the one that you like.
Yeah, Diego de Charmille wants good ground, so it was pointless going there. He's going to run Ascot in a valuable race in about a fortnight's time.
Okay.
But Dolos ran very well at Sandown the other day. He was beating the neck. Was a bit unlucky not to win if he jumped the second last cleanly. He keeps on improving. His form was taking a boost today by Nicky's horse who ran so well in the big hurdle race. He's taken well the fences, and I wouldn't probably minded being rated a few pound lower, but he's just progressive. I think he'll run well. It's a good race for novice chasers. Won it 2 years ago with Solar Impulse, who was a novice. And the other one, if he gets in, could be interesting back to 2 miles, is Bouverol. But he would just prefer the ground decent. But Dolos is probably our best chance in this race.
Gary, just wrapping up those handicaps that you've not spoken about so far. Grand Annual, Martin Pipe, any strong views?
I think Gordon's horse in the Martin Pipe, Lee Burley, he mentioned Flawless Escape if he gets in as well. Yep. He ran very well against Total Recall last time. I thought the first 4 home that day all looked well handicapped. They were a long way clear of the remainder. The last race, a lot of the Irish horses in that Grand Annual want better ground. Jessica Harrington's 2 Rock the World, Don't Touch It. They're near the top of the market. they need better ground. One I'd give a light to at a big price if he pitched up was Powers Bomb, who ran very well in the novice handicap chase last year. He needs a few to come out though, but I think he could go well at a big price if he gets into the Grand Annual.
And what about you, Keels?
Yeah, DWF, trained by Nicky Henderson, was 5th in the Lanzarote, just behind Paul's top of the game. I think he's got to go well in the Martin Pipe. That's the plan, apparently, with James Bowen riding. And in the last, I've always been, quite looking forward to seeing Bouvoy come back to 2 miles. So if he gets in, I think it'd still be half interesting, even on soft ground, because I think it's a case of not staying 2.5 mile when the ground's soft. And the one that could go well at a big price is Alan King's Valdez. Threatened to be a really top-class horse a few years ago, but had the best part of 4 years off. But actually ran quite well behind Altior Politolog for a long way last time at Newbury.
Okay, guys, let's get your best bets then for the final day of the festival. Barry Orr.
Blue A Rouge in the County Hurl, all depending how Kalashnikov gets on the first day, but I think that will have proved a difficult thing to do, give £5 to him in the Betfair Hurl. So Blue A Rouge.
Good man, Paul.
I forgot to mention this earlier when he was running, but if he gets in and it's not too soft, Cliffs of Dover each way.
Okay.
He won on the flat 2 days ago after a non-event in Wincanton on very, very heavy ground. But he's ready to go and run really tidy in a race like this.
All right, Gordon.
I'll go for Apple Shakira in the Triumph.
And Ollie.
I was saying Apple Shakira in the Triumph.
2 for Apple Shakira. Nice. Keels.
I'll have a Callet Mad in the Albert Bartlett.
Callet Man, the Albert Bartlett, and Gary.
I should have mentioned, Lee, I think Burning Ambition will win the Fox Hunter. Very good horse. Second at Punchestown behind Gil Gamboa last time. But for bet of the day, I'm going to go our Duke in the Gold Cup.
Our Duke in the Gold Cup for Gary. Barry, you've got some questions.
We do. We have some questions online. Scott Rutherford wants to know, Gordon, does blow by blow go for the Martin Pipe?
Yes.
That's a yes, Scott. Martin Sheridan wants to know, how is Labique and Don Poli?
Don Poli has had a wind operation and he'll go for the novice handicap hurdle in
No.
Fairhill.
Novice handicap hurdle.
Yeah.
Don Polly.
Don Poli, Polly Rice, sorry.
No, Don Poli,
sorry.
yeah.
Don Poli got a leg, he's home in Jigginstown, and Lebec is in a stable up in the Criminal Assets Bureau, and he's still there for the moment. No, all joking aside, Lebec done a suspensory in Punchestown last year, and he's back on the walker.
Yeah, we've had several people. We've had several people online ask what the de facto panel member Tom Malone's Cheltenham nap is.
He should really be up there, shouldn't he?
Yeah, you really should. What's
Get
your
him
nap?
mic'd up there.
And if there's one horse in the festival you wish you had bought for a client, what is it?
We've got plenty of them.
How many runners have you got?
Well,
in
what's the
festival?
nap, first of all? Sam Spinner in the Stairway. Okay, right.
That's a
And
good one.
one horse. Pick one horse that you wish you could have purchased on behalf of one of your clients. Altior.
Anyone.
Tom, can I ask, what's been your best bargain horse for this year's festival? One that you paid less than you really might have thought you would do?
That doesn't really happen.
We've one more question from Dan online. Is Paul, if you could have one of Gordon's horses, what it would be? And Gordon, if you could have one of Paul's, what would it be?
Well, Sam Crow's obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah. Gordon?
This is awkward.
I'd have to.
A wonderful job.
The Fox Hunter.
Wonderful champ. No, I'd say Politolog in the
Little Log
in the championship.
Queen Mom. Yeah. And Ollie, if you could have either, what would it be?
Well, Politolog obviously is a Grade 1 winner, and Sam Crow Clanky's.
And Sam
Well
Crow.
done, Fee.
Excellent. Anne-Marie, I believe, has a mic down there. If anyone's any questions on the floor, feel free to ask them now or forever hold your wished. Anybody? Here we go. Start the ball rolling. Well,
Hello. Duvan, right? He's 9-2. 2 years ago, he was an absolute superstar.
Who?
Duvan. And you got Altior at 8-11. Mullins is going to run him. Ruby's going to ride. How can you not back him at 9-2?
None of us think Duvan's going to run.
You missed the show of hands thing.
Yeah, Ruby's riding men.
someone take the microphone off that man.
You've got to listen.
No, but when he does run, and
Okay.
Ruby's declared
Marie,
on
where are
his
you?
back,
Yeah.
is 9-2 not one of the bets of the festival?
I'd say he's probably
You got out to your
Well, it's
8
non-runner, no bets.
he's
So.
the only horse in the
This
race
is what
that
I
can
mean.
probably if he's on song, can beat Altier.
This is what I mean.
Well, if he runs, if you like him, back him, and if you don't bother.
Another question online. How, Paul and Gordon, the ground, how big effect do you think that will have on the festival?
That's massive. Ground's very important to a lot of horses, wouldn't it? Don't you agree?
Yeah, I'd say if the ground comes up as soft as people are saying it's going to come up, I'd say you could see a lot of strange results.
Gordon, for the majority of your good horses, would soft ground be okay?
Sam Crow will be fine, Apples Jade will be fine. Wouldn't like to see a bottomless for cause of causes. Sorry? Dunicus, if it was in a bog, he'd absolutely love it. Ground would be a worry for him. The better the ground, the better chance he has. Bless the wings might win it. He's been round there a million times. Cause of causes is the best chance I have in the race. He's in great form at home. With a clear round, he'll take all the beating. Once it's not bottomless heavy, that'd be the new. I don't even know what they are because I don't back up.
Any more questions from the floor?
So we
Any
just,
more questions? Going once?
Charity bets then.
Charity bet.
Yeah.
Going twice? Hand there.
So, out of all the favourites, which one's going to scupper the Yakka that we're all on, I'm sure?
I'd say, to be honest, there's 4 or 5 really, maybe even 6 really short ones at Cheltenham Festival this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if 2 or 3 of them were turned over.
Which 2 or 3, Gordon?
Listen, I hope it's not Sam Crow or Apples Jade. but I think the ground, like, if the ground comes up heavy, there could be a lot of strange results.
Do you think the way that races are run
Is it?
will be changed by the ground? You know, we used to really strong early gallops at Cheltenham, more so than any point in the winter. Will the jockeys take?
It won't
a more
bother me at all
conservative
because my jockeys, I don't like them hitting the front too soon and kicking on and coming down the hill. I let them take their time, and if they're good enough, have a go off the home turn.
He's in the.
But the ground is a big issue, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Ollie would say the same, Ollie. Would you like your horses that way as well?
Yeah, no, listen, it's a long way home from the top of the hill in Cheltenham, and people like the horse ridden differently, but it'll be a long way home from the top of the hill this year anyway.
Gordon, Ollie, you've had a fantastic first season with a licence. It's clearly no coincidence that you were trained by the man next to you. What are the things that you most learnt from Gordon that you've taken into his first season?
Don't answer that question.
How to eat.
I suppose I've come home and the majority of my horses are mediocre horses, and I've been lucky enough I've been given a few nice horses to train, but I remember telling Gordon, just was so nervous going and telling him I was going to go home and go training myself, and the one thing he told me, he said, just go home and train winners. Don't worry about going to Newbury and putting on a tweed suit and going for a nice lunch. Go to your smaller tracks and go home and just try and train winners and run your horse in the right races. And I even think you look at Gordon's horses now in the summer, he gets as big a buzz and maybe a totally different with winning with a horse which no one else can win with. And I've tried to, I suppose, emulate him in a very, very small scale and trying to do that myself and just trying to get going by training bad horses and just trying to catch people's attentions that way.
Guys, well, as we approach the 4 days, we've got the annual rivalry between Britain and Ireland. Last season, Ireland mopped up across the festival. This season, in the betting for the Bet Cup, again, Ireland odds-on favourites. Gary, how good a festival will this year be for Ireland? Even better than last year?
I think definitely the balance of pairs with the Irish horse at the moment, Lee. There's three stables, obviously. 3 trainers are at the top of the list for top trainer of the week, and 2 of them are Irish, so I think that says a lot. 19 is going to be very, very hard to emulate, and what Gordon said about the ground as well, it does change things. I know a lot of people would say the Irish horses are running on testing ground all through the winter, it's going to suit them if it says so. That I wouldn't necessarily go along with that. I find it leads to maybe more unpredictable results. That said, I do think that the Presbury Cup might be going back to Ireland once again.
And in terms of the champion trainer over the 4 days, Last season it was a tie between Gordon and Willie, but Gordon got the trophy. Which of the two do you think this year has the stronger team going into the festival?
Sorry?
No.
It wasn't a tie. There's a winner and a loser last year.
Yeah. And you were the...
Thank you.
And Willie was the...
It's a bit the only time I can beat him, but...
To answer your question, Willie Mullensley.
Do you agree, Gordon?
I actually think Nicky Henderson's got a massive chance this year. For me, I think Nicky Henderson, if I was to have a tenner on who'd be leading trainer in Cheltenham this year, obviously you have to respect Willie. He's a genius at everything he does. But I think Nicky Henderson, he's got some horses this year to run the Cheltenham Festival.
And Gordon, if I said to you, what would you most like? Another fantastic Cheltenham Festival, 6 more winners, or to become Ireland's champion trainer for the first time? Which one of those two would you take most?
Sorry, I was just reading a tweet there. I'm not going to read it out, but we do these Cheltenham previews. You know, we make an effort to come over, and people start tweeting stuff that can get people in trouble. Like, you should be a little bit careful what people are tweeting. You know.
What's been tweeted?
I'm not going to read it out, but whoever put it up will know what they're saying. You know.
Okay.
You know, it's all a bit of fun and joking, but I'm not going to say any more than that. You know. Sorry, ask that question again.
Yeah. Of the two things, if you were given the option of either having another fantastic Cheltenham Festival, 6 more winners, loads of Grade 1 victories, or becoming champion trainer for the first time, of those two...
Lee, if you mention that champion trainer thing, I promise you'll get clotheslined off that chair.
Absolutely.
You're smiling.
I've probably no chance of winning being champion trainer in Ireland.
You don't genuinely think that?
If you ask me to put my hand on my heart to being champion trainer in Ireland or having a winner in Cheltenham, I'd turn my horse box around now, and I wouldn't run any horse in Cheltenham to be champion trainer in Ireland. If you want to train horses, you want to be champion trainer, and if you don't want to be champion trainer, you shouldn't be training them. And if you want to be a jockey, you should want to be champion trainer. So since I started training, the one thing I want to be is champion trainer. If it takes me 10 years or 100 years, if I can do it someday, it'll be the proudest day of my life.
Fantastic answer. Well done. And if we've got no more questions from the floor, we have got one more question from the floor.
Gordon, Nicky Khan seems like a beast. Is he overpriced in the...
I think he is, yeah. I said earlier on, he's 10 or 12 to 1. He won't mind the ground. I think he'd be better actually on the better the ground, but he won't mind soft, the heavy ground, but the better the ground is, the better chance he has. At 10 or 12 to 1, I wouldn't put you off on a few each way on him.
No more questions? One more question? 2 more questions. They're flying in now. Gentlemen.
Would you have any concerns, Gordon, if they went very fast in the RSA with Dooning's ability to go with the pace early on?
No, he ran in Leopardson the last day on nicer ground over 2 mile 5, and he absolutely winged fences. I'd say the faster they went, the better chance he has.
Sir?
Yeah, just a couple of questions to Paul. Paul, did you say earlier the president's definitely go for the Ryanair, or is that very...
Highly likely, but not a definite decision, but he might well do, yeah.
Okay, long Cheltenham question. What's happened to Rio Ponte?
He got a leg when he ran and won it. Carlisle will be back next season.
Okay, thank you.
Sir?
Ollie, one for you. Shame about Hunter's call, obviously. I see a few people still pricing it up, but I'm pretty sure definitely not running. Is Oxford Blue your best chance outside of that?
He is. He's one of my only runners all week. I'm not going to run horses just to go there on the beer. I'll do that without running a horse. So, yeah, no, I've only a couple of runners for the week, and I thought Oxford Blue had an each way chance. And yeah, kicking the balls about Hunter's call, but that's racing.
I'd say whenever he's running in the not the 100 handicap world in faking, I'd be backing.
So guys,
Go on.
sorry, Gordon. Sir, Mr. Kevin Blake was saying you were really saying strong things about Tiger Roll off camera earlier in the week. Obviously today you've said good things about
Kevin
Cause
Blake.
of Causes. Yeah. So for the crowd tonight, Cause of Causes or Tiger Roll?
Cause of causes, definitely.
Obviously took Jamie, but...
Jamie, he's right. He won the last 3 Cheltenham festivals. I was saying good things about Tiger Roll. I think he could give Cause of Causes most to worry about. But if the ground come up heavy, soft to heavy, I wouldn't touch Tiger Roll. The better the ground, the better chance he has.
Any more, sir?
Question for Paul Nichols. We have a dream at the trial. I know you're
Which race? Where was this? No, Musselburgh. He was second. Activalo ran a good race. One's going in the Triumph, one's going in the Fred Winter, and we have a Dreams of Smart Horse. He's unbeaten, and as I said, we were second. Pleased with that, and hopefully we'll go closer in the Fred Winter.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, can we have the best bet of the week from each?
We're about to have that.
We're about to do that, Mars.
We haven't forgotten.
Sorry. One for Mr. Keeley. Ben Pauling's a fairly shrewd trainer. He's got a few decent runners in the handicaps. I've got my own a couple. Any that you fancy?
Yeah, LeBroy is quite interesting in the Gold Cup. I think it's about 12 to 1 shot. Second's a Black Ivory, worked out really well. Black Ivory came out and won a Potemps qualifier afterwards at Warwick. So yeah, I think he's got a decent chance.
We done, question-wise? Okay, best bets, charity bets. Barry, what have the guys got in terms of charity bets? How much have you got to play with?
£200 each, so £1,000
Each.
200 each.
Oh, sorry.
Don't start all that now.
Paul.
100 each way, top of the game in the Coral.
Top of the game, 100 each way in the Coral Cup. Gordon Elliott.
I'm going to do a 200 treble. I'm going to have footpad, Lorena, and Undersue.
Oh, Free Willies.
I've never heard of a treble. That's bold. Well done. Good man.
It's a charity bet.
Absolutely.
Three
Ollie.
Willies. You wouldn't buy.
Sorry?
I'll have £100 each one, you know what I mean, Harry?
You know what I mean, Harry.
I've no runner, and I needed 3 races, so that's why I'm going for Willie now.
Good man. Keels?
I have a treble on 325 to 1 shot.
Of course you can. You can have whatever you want.
No, I'll just have 200 quid on Q-Star Civilet in the Ultima.
Okay, and Gary?
200 win on Presenting Percy.
Excellent. They then are your charity bets. And this has been your Betfair Racing Post Cheltenham Festival preview, which, with huge thanks to Gary O'Brien, Paul Keeley, Ollie Murphy, Gordon Elliott, Paul Nichols and Barry Orr. We say thanks to them. We say thanks to them. We wish the guys with runners plenty of luck next week, and we wish you guys all good luck as well for a great Cheltenham Festival. Thanks a lot.